in the south of Joburg. Gauteng Police spokesperson Brenda Moridili says police are attending to the scene.
The 2 victims were declared dead on the scene and 3 were taken to hospital with gunshot wounds. The police's serious and violent crime investigations from the provincial office will be investigating a case of 2 counts of murder and 3 counts of attempted murder.
Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gaqube has arrived at the home of one of the families who lost a child in the deadly scholar transport crash in Vanderbijl Park. She's accompanied by Gauteng Education MEC Matume Chilwane as government leaders continue engagements with bereaved families following the tragedy that claimed the lives of 12 learners yesterday. The visit comes after police arrested the driver of the minibus taxi as investigations into the crash continue. Mungezi Koko has more.
Here in Sebokeng Unit 11 on Mohale Street, the atmosphere is heavy and somber. Family members, neighbors and friends continue to enter the home of the grieving family, many in tears, others silently embracing as they pay their respects. Minister Siviwe Gaqube and MEC Matume Chilwane have spent some time inside, offering condolences and comfort to a family who are still coming to terms with the sudden loss of a child. Outside, there's a stillness broken only by soft cries and whispers, a reflection of a community united in grief. Mungezi Koko, Eyewitness News, Sebokeng.
Johannesburg City Power is owed more than 10 billion rand in unpaid electricity bills by both its commercial and residential customers. The municipal power utility has been struggling to collect revenue for services rendered due to the apparent reluctance of customers to settle their bills. The city led a cut-off operation in Johannesburg CBD today, targeting commercial customers whose accounts are in arrears. Alpha Ramushana has more.
Joburg City Power spokesperson Isaac Mangena says there seems to be a culture of non-payment of electricity bills in the CBD.
The CBD is the highest in terms of the debt that is sitting with City Power, the 10 billion rands debt that we have. Most of it is sitting within the inner city and majority of it is with the businesses.
He says due to the non-payment, City Power is currently not meeting its expected revenue collection standards.
Currently as City Power and the city, we are basically in the red in terms of the revenue that is needed to ensure that we run City Power operations and also at the city.
Earlier this year, the city disconnected electricity to a bottle store in Newtown that has not only been defaulting on payments but also bypassed its electricity meter. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
The Water and Sanitation Department has pledged 20 million rand in emergency relief funding to help stabilize the Knysna municipality's water supply system, which is currently facing critical water challenges. The municipality's primary water storage facility, the Akkerkloof Dam, has an estimated 13 days of usable water. Minister Phemi Majodina says the funding will be reprioritized from existing water services and infrastructure grants. Ntutuzela Nene has more.
Water and Sanitation Minister Phemi Majodina says the funding, together with technical support, will be used to develop groundwater resources, easing pressure on strained surface water sources in the Knysna water supply system. The department is also deploying technical engineering expertise to assess the Knysna desalination plant with the aim of confirming refurbishment requirements to increase water production. In addition, the department will assist the municipality to strengthen its water resources planning, ensuring improved long-term water security. Majodina says they are also providing funding for feasibility studies into the development of a new small local dam. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
The Gauteng government says it is hoping for a breakthrough in the case of missing Ekurhuleni city official Andile Mgwevu. Provincial government officials visited Mgwevu's family this afternoon in Springs on the East Rand. This as the search for Mgwevu, the current MMC for Roads and Transport in Ekurhuleni, enters its 4th day after he was reported missing in Mozambique. Arun Singh has the story.
It's understood that Andile Mgwevu was on a personal trip in Mozambique with friends when the vehicle they were travelling in was allegedly caught in fast-moving floodwaters in the Chalkway region in the southern parts of the country. The Ekurhuleni Mayoral Committee member was allegedly reported missing on Friday evening. The SANDF deployed several teams to Mozambique to assist with the search after the country was battered with torrential rains leading to widespread flooding. Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lusufi.
We remain highly hopeful that we will be in a position to make a breakthrough and get the information that will assist us to understand where everyone is and what happened or what needs to be done to ensure that we can come and convey that message to the families.
The Sufi says DIRCO officials are in constant communication with the family. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
And Spain has begun its 3 days of mourning for the 41 people who were killed after 2 trains collided. More than 120 people were injured, with 39 people still in hospital, including 4 children. The disaster took place on Sunday when one train crossed onto the other track and crashed into the oncoming train, which also derailed. Flags are being flown at half-mast on public buildings, television anchors are wearing black, and cabinet ministers have stopped all public appearances. Gold's trading at $4,724.43 an ounce. The rand's at 16.44 to the dollar, at 22.11 to the pound, at 19.28 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $64.52 a barrel.
Irene, accident scene on the R21 southbound between the N1 and the Maypierce Drive, still causing about a 30-minute delay. As a result, there's also slow-moving traffic. This is on Main Road between the N1 and the Maypierce Drive. Cederberg, traffic sluggish R18 northbound. This is Mabopane Highway between Eskiam Pahlele and the Hairpin Bend.
In your sport, Miguel Cardoso not fazed by rumours that Bitso Mosimane may replace him at Mamelodi Sundowns. Stellenbosch confirmed the capture of 3 players, including Tsegofatso Mabasa, and the Proteas women to host India in a 5-match T20 series.
A look at your weather. It's a cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with scattered showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures are peaking at highs between 23 and 25 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. Gauteng police have launched an investigation into the murder of 2 people and the attempted murder of 3 others following a shooting outside the Boysons Magistrates Court this afternoon.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
.702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here. Good afternoon, everyone. It's 3 on Tuesday, the 20th of January. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you are listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. In Parliament, intriguing session at the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee looking into police corruption and related matters. Robert McBride giving evidence. He's held many different jobs. Head of police in Ekurhuleni. He was the head of IPID, the Independent Police Investigating Directorate. He's currently being quizzed by members of Parliament. In other stories, authorities say that the driver of the taxi in which 12 Vanderbijl Park learners lost their lives could be charged with culpable homicide. That would address many people's desire for what they would believe to be justice. But how has culpable homicide charges fared in our courts when applied to motor vehicle accidents? More on that after 5. Staying with this tragic accident, when families and communities are ripped apart like this, counselling is always offered to those affected. But how much counselling is actually needed? Over what kind of period of time? And is ongoing support always offered? Do we have the resources to make that available? We'll talk to Philip Stoneman, founder of Trauma Support SA. That conversation at 4:10. And we'll go back to Knysna, where day 0 with no water draws ever closer. Yesterday we spoke to the mayor, Thando Matika from the ANC, who acknowledged a failure to act over the past couple of years. But this is a problem that has deep roots stretching back over many years. What about other mayors and other political parties? We'll explore that with Anton Bredell, Western Cape MEC for Local Government, at 4:10.
On the markets, not much movement from the all share, up by just 50 points, but, basically flat. Life Healthcare is leading the gainers, up by 4.6%. There's a cluster of gold companies coming up behind. Goldfields and Anglo Gold up by 3.9%. Pan-African Resources up by 3.2%. On the downside, Thungela has lost 4.4%. Sappi's down by 3.2%. Naspers off by 2.7%. The rand is currently trading at 16 rand 45 against the dollar, pretty much where it was this time yesterday. A euro will set you back 19 rand 31. That's getting more pricey. A loss for our currency of 18 cents over the last 24 hours. 22 rand 13 will get you a pound. Sterling stronger against the rand by 8 cents. Stephen Critters joins us with all the market news at 4:25. We'll have sport with Tolakele Mganga. Maki Mulapo has the latest news headlines. You heard a moment ago. Karabo Chali sitting directly opposite me is keeping an eye on the roads. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live. If it's happening in 702 land, you'll hear about it here first. If you hear about it before we hear about it, please do get in touch. We try to be in as many places and tapping into as many news sources as we can. But there's stuff we miss. That's where you come in. Get in touch on 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702. We value your tip-offs. It's 12 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
So as I was driving to work here, I saw, because I was going up the M1 North, so from well before Melrose Arch, actually, now I think about it, or possibly starting there, traffic going south stopped completely dead. Now, Karabo Chali and I had a little chat about it before. Apparently, it was something, but it cleared. It wasn't one of those many hours of delay with knock-on effects and roads in the general area getting clogged up. But still, it looked bad. And it made me think, as I sort of passed people, wow, well, I wonder who's in those cars. Some people are inconvenienced, some people are irritated, but some people are potentially in really serious trouble. They may be going to a job interview. They may have a young kid who needs picking up from creche, and they said, please, we need to close up. The fumigators are coming. Whatever. All sorts of things happen in life. People may need the bathroom. I mean, just to be a little mundane and extremely practical. So I'm just wondering, have you ever been caught in a traffic jam with real consequence, where you weren't just irritated and inconvenienced, but this was really disruptive? Maybe you're heading for the airport, planning to catch a plane. No refunds. Last plane of the day. I got stuck in a jam. Just for reference, Joburg to Cape Town, the last flight is at 8:30, and I was in a serious jam, and there was no plane afterwards, no choices. Jeez. I think there might have been an SAA flight a little bit later, but not by much. Anyway, those are the examples that come to mind for me. Jonathan Fairburn, traffic jams for you where you've been caught where it's more than just, oh, come on, but it's, oh my goodness.
Yeah, afternoon, John, and afternoon to our 702 family. So I must say, I haven't been caught in many of these hectic traffic jams where, you could be stuck there for an hour, 2 hour, delays, purely because of my hours, and so I'm fortunate with that. But one comes to mind where I was stuck in traffic for maybe about 45 minutes to an hour at most. And the consequence of that was I missed a voiceover.
Yes.
So okay. I didn't make it at all. The client who was there couldn't stay, but managed to reschedule at a later date, which was fortunate enough in that. But nothing of significant consequence from my point in terms of a traffic jam.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, we'd love to hear from you. Please do give us a call. And I suppose the reason for this, we give you the traffic, Karabo Chali and the other traffic reporters on the station, very, very mindful of giving you the overall picture as accurately as possible. But in that jam are individuals, and I thought it would be interesting just to kind of disaggregate, first of all, the problem, but secondly, get a much more individual view of the experience. How about you, Karabo Chali? I guess traffic reporters do get stuck in traffic.
Yeah, but that's way before I even started becoming a traffic reporter.
Yes.
It was back in varsity. So I was studying in tertiary. I was studying at TUT in Pretoria, but I lived in Germiston.
Okay.
So I used
quite
to.
a drive, eh?
It is quite a drive. But then I used to live in Pretoria at a commune. But
Okay.
then sometimes on weekends I'll just drive home and spend the weekend there. So that weekend, I spent home and I was writing an exam on Monday. So I thought I left my house early. I should have been listening to 702 traffic reports, but clearly I wasn't. I was jamming to my music. I was jamming to my music on my way there. And when I hit the Kilulis interchange and I was going on the N3, obviously going to catch the N1, and the traffic just stopped, and we were just driving at a snail pace from the Kilulis interchange all the way to Eupheus, because I joined the N4, and as I get into the Pretoria Eupheus, the fountains, I couldn't believe it. And I was late for the exam by like 45 minutes, but at least I managed to get in and I passed.
Wow.
And they didn't grant you any favor?
No favors. They were very strict with time.
I would expect them to
And
be. Yeah.
So it was like a 3 or 2 hour exam, but I managed to finish somehow, and I did pretty well.
That's like scoring the winning try after you've been defending your try line for about 8 minutes, and then you suddenly break free. Well done on passing the exam. But traffic stories. Give us a call. I suspect there's some interesting ones.
Yeah, especially if you've been stuck in those jams where you have to turn off the car and you just sit.
Yes.
And people get out of their cars, and then, have you struck up conversations with people behind you, in front of you,
upside,
next to
okay.
you? Like what, interesting stories. That would be really cool.
That's a very different and nice angle to it as well. So maybe you met your future life partner in a traffic jam. Who knows? Call us. Traffic stories, please. 011 883 0702. No stories. Let's just get the traffic. Here's Karabo again.
Well, at this stage, John, in Irene, a truck has overturned. This is one of those jams. It's about a 30-minute delay between the N1 and Nalmepius Drive. That's on the R21 southbound. This is, I see now, it's causing more than an hour delay. As a result, there's also slow-moving traffic on Main Road, still in the Irene area between the N1 and Nalmepius Drive. So if you are leaving the mainland area hoping to get to the airport, avoid the R21 as you get on there by the Flying Saucer interchange. It is a big jam. Rather use the N1 or Main Road. The delays there are slightly better. Cederberg still in Pretoria. Traffic sluggish on the R18 northbound Mabopane Highway between Bremer and the Hairpin Bend. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
The DA elective conference, do you still think you've got it in you to still hold any leadership position?
I would have, but I don't want one.
You don't want one?
No, I've done what I've had to do.
Yeah.
And I feel that my job is now to try and help fix local government, because South Africa can't succeed unless our metros are functional.
So if you don't succeed in Johannesburg, is that you bowing out, or you'll join the city council in the opposition benches?
Well, it depends. I mean, obviously we're in it to win it. We don't go in to lose.
Like any other party.
Yeah, and we'll put our massive effort in to win it. If that doesn't work, if the voters of Johannesburg decide they want more of the same that they've currently got, well, then the voters get the government they voted for, which is very sad.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Running a business can feel like a solo mission. I mean, you've got the hustle. If only your office Wi-Fi was your employee of the month. Turn on your success with Telkom Business, the partner that always shows up. Get a reliable 25 by 25 megabytes per second connection with Stream Connect Fiber for only 489 rands per month.
This summer, your business deserves the best. Visit telkom.co.za/business for deals that connect your business. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Ready for a learning experience of a lifetime? Join Richfield's nationwide open day every day this week, including Saturday. Tour our state-of-the-art campuses and find your perfect fit with our range of qualifications. From higher certificates and diplomas to degrees, postgraduate programs, and our MBA. Visit richfield.ac.za for more. Richfield, your future enriched.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
minutes.
Greenland, Trump, all of that. I never thought I'd use the phrase that Greenland is pushing precious metals stronger, but this is where we are right now.
It's all part of this broader theme of fracturing into blocks, into spheres of influence, and it is going to have an impact on the long-term integrity of the dollar. Imperialism is not cheap, if that's where we're going back. It's got fiscal implications.
Meryl Peck, Portfolio Manager.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB. That's how we're invested in your story. Your story matters. ABSA is a registered FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 21 minutes past 3. Let's focus our attention now on Vaal Park and the various schools involved in that terrible tragedy that happened yesterday. 12 learners died. If this is a story you haven't heard about before, I suspect most of you have. 12 learners died when the scholar transport taxi that was taking them to a number of different schools, as I understand it, was involved in an accident with a truck. Investigations still underway, although news has come through that the driver of the taxi transporting the learners is going to be charged and may well face charges of culpable homicide. More on the legality or the legal journey that particular charge would have to travel after 5 o'clock. We'll talk about that later in the show. But right now, let's just get the latest from Vaal Park. And welcome back to the show, Mongezi Koko, our EWN reporter colleague. Mongezi, a very good afternoon. You've been out in the community again. Who have you spoken to, and what in particular have you heard that we need to know about? Good afternoon to you.
That's correct, and that is, John. A very good afternoon to you. It's been quite a long day, starting quite early today, where the Department of Education here in Gauteng then called on members of the media to come to, of course, the site of the crash and to another school, the Vaal High School, where a number of learners were from who lost their lives in the tragedy yesterday. Now, we got a number of updates, and firstly, that of the police confirming that the driver of the scholar transport vehicle had been released from hospital and subsequently charged with 12 counts of a culpable homicide. He is expected to make his first court appearance at the Vaal Park Magistrates Court within the next 48 hours. We're looking at the probable date of tomorrow, and this is, of course, where we'll hear what other charges will be brought forward, most likely that of negligence and reckless driving. That's an important one, which also carries quite a high minimum sentence. So we're yet to hear all of that. Currently, Dr. John, the Minister of Basic Education, Sibio Gwahube, is in the area. She visited Vaal Park, and then she also went to Sebokeng, where a number of the learners were coming from, headed to school in Vaal Park, just to ascertain what exactly happened, how the families are coping, and to convey her condolences above all else. And this is where we spoke to a number of family members who indicated that they were really upset by the tragedy, and not because it is just the fault of the driver, but they indicated that upon utilizing the Gauteng Provincial Education Department's online placement system, they found themselves wanting for schools closer to their homes, and they were unable to secure that placement, therefore resulting in their children getting placed in Sebokeng and having to use that particular stretch of road where the accident occurred, traveling from Sebokeng all the way to Vaal Park. So sort of saying that this is actually a combination of a number of issues that has led to the untimely deaths of the learners and their children, expressing anger, in equal breath expressing frustration, pain, hurt, as you can imagine, desperation,
Yes.
and sort of seeking answers as to what comes next. But another strong feeling and sense that I was getting from the families was that of detachment from the driver and those who may be found guilty of wrongdoing, saying that they're currently contending with trying to rebuild after losing their children. So quite a number of issues being brought forward on the table. And like I said, that development in terms of the arrest and the imminent court appearance. And also we have an update when it comes to the truck driver who tipper truck was the one that also collided with that a minibus taxi, saying to while speaking to the police, of course, providing footage, that dash cam footage that EWN was able to take a look at, and saying that essentially he is now feeling okay. He was traveling with a passenger, and both of them have been discharged. The numbers were then rectified for yesterday. Police said 14, but today they've brought it down to 12, explaining that 5 were in hospital, 1 has been discharged, and also of the 12 deceased, there is 1 who remains unidentified, but it is understood that that learner was also a learner at Vaal High School.
Mongezi Koko, thank you, EWN reporter out in Vaal Park today. A number of important developments, anything more, and we'll be sure to update you on that. 26 minutes past 3.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, staying with schools, but down in Cape Town. Now, you may recall last year videos that went very much viral on social media showing learners assaulting others at the Milnerton High School. 8 of the learners who were seen in the video, or I don't know if all of them were visible in the video, but this led to investigations and the charging of 8 Milnerton High School learners. They had made a court appearance in late 2025. They were back in court today. So what happened? Let's find out. Carlo Peterson, again, part of the EWN team, on the line to us from Cape Town. Carlo, a very good afternoon to you. I understand fairly brief today. What exactly happened? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. Yes, so very brief appearance there for those 8 Milnerton High School learners. They've been charged with various counts of assault with intent to do grievous bodily harm. And it seems the state has asked for more time to complete their investigation against those learners. They say that they still require to consult the accused and the complainants in the matter, and also still require photographs and video content to be downloaded from the accused's cell phones. The matter has been postponed to the 11th of March for the state to finalize their investigation. But during proceedings, we also heard one of the lawyers for the accused tell the court that Milnerton High School's governing body has since made a recommendation for 6 of the learners to be expelled from the school. Now, we contacted the Western Cape Education Department earlier today, and they have since confirmed that the school's governing body has made that recommendation for 6 of the learners to be expelled. The department will now be considering that recommendation. It was sent to them last week, and a decision will then be made about whether those 6 learners will be expelled.
Carla, I don't know if in the kind of margins of the actual court proceeding itself you were able to chat to anyone who was there, both parents of those learners who, according to the charges, were assaulted, and those parents and family members of those who stand in the dock. Do you know if these learners, all of them on either side of this thing that's happened, are actually back at school and able to get on with their lives? It would seem that those who are facing charges probably haven't made it through the school gates for 26.
Yes, so when they last appeared in court, the court made an order for the 8 learners not to be allowed back at Milnerton High School. What has since happened is they've provided them with an alternative venue to do the exams, and they've been provided with lessons via an online platform to complete the rest of their school academic year.
Carlo Peterson, thank you. Keeping an eye on developments in regard to Milnerton High School. Yeah, I mean, when these things happen, obviously we talk about them at great length. People watch the videos, call in with their impressions and comments, and then things go quiet for a while. And then there's a court appearance. Quite often it's brief. Then there's another lull, another court appearance. And I've never been in that position where I've had to build my life. I don't know if this would be overstating it, but it seems that way to me. To some degree, build my life around a series of dates and processes of which I have absolutely no control. And that must be a very difficult kind of limbo. I'm wondering if you've been through that experience, maybe a court matter that you were either defending yourself, you were the accused, or a court matter in which you were hoping that somebody else standing accused would eventually be brought to justice, and you would find some sort of peace. But what's it like being in that situation? And for the learners going back to a school where they were assaulted in the way that that video suggests they were, I would have thought there's a certain amount of secondary trauma that results from that. Maybe going into the sports change room where all of this happened might prove to be quite difficult. Lots there that I'm trying to get my head around. But if you've got some insights to share on that, please do. 072 702 1702, 29 minutes to 4. Okay, we need to catch up with what's happening in different parts of the world. This is a truly alarming story, actually, from southwest Gauteng. Maki Molapo has the details. Zama-zamas and their consequences for people who live nearby. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. More than 600 people from the Sporong informal settlement have taken refuge at a community hall after allegedly being driven from their homes by Zamazamas. The settlement, located in the Rand West municipality, was established near a number of decommissioned mines. The community has left the area allegedly after years of being terrorized by the Zamazamas. Tabiso Goba has more.
The images of women and children crammed in a community hall usually follow a natural disaster. However, the community of Sporong is dealing with a different kind of disaster, a man-made one of illegal miners, also known as Amazamazama. Community leader Elsie Mokobane says it's been more than 2 weeks since they abandoned their homes.
Life here at the hall is also difficult. We are definitely safer than where we are coming from, but not living well. We don't have hot water, we sleep on the floor, and there are not enough sponges or space for everyone. Some people sleep in the kitchen, shower and passages.
Mogobane says while they are grateful for the safe shelter, they are appealing to government for a more permanent solution. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News, Randwest.
In the courts, state prosecutors have requested more time to collect evidence against 8 Milnerton High School learners charged with various counts of assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. 6 of the accused appeared in one courtroom, while 2 underage learners who faced the same charges appeared in a courtroom for minors. The learners, who made their second appearance in court today, face charges related to at least 8 incidents of alleged assault at Milnerton High School, including a video which went viral on social media. Carla Peterson has more.
Prosecutor Ricardo Swartz today asked the court for more time for the state to finish its investigation against 8 Milnerton High School learners, each facing 8 counts of assault to do grievous bodily harm. National Prosecuting Authority spokesperson Eric Ntabazalila explains.
The case has been postponed to the 11th of March for us to consult with the victims. We could not consult with the victims during the period because they had to go for counseling and there were exams that took place.
Ntabazalila says photographic content also needs to be downloaded from the accused cell phones. During court proceedings, one of the lawyers for the accused told the court Milnerton High School's governing body has made a recommendation for 6 of the learners to be expelled from the school. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
The city of Ekurhulene's failed plan to expropriate private land without compensation remains in question legally, even though the Metro reneged on the decision. The city sought to seize a 34-hectare property in Boksburg in a case that has been tied up in court for years. The expropriation has now been scrapped after an environmental assessment found the land unsuitable for human settlement. The move would have marked South Africa's first case of land expropriation without compensation, fueling an already heated national debate over property rights. Alpha Ramushana has more.
At the heart of this dispute was the question of whether South Africa currently has a law that explicitly permits land expropriation without compensation. The controversial Expropriation Act of 2024, which allows for zero compensation under certain conditions, has been passed but is not yet in force. A property law lecturer at Stellenbosch University, Tenfier Jiwa, believes that the city of Ekurhuleni misinterpreted the law in claiming that its offer of no compensation was justified.
There is no justification of how they get to nil compensation or even what exactly allows them to have nil compensation.
While the city has now reversed the expropriation, questions remain over the legality of its actions. She argues that the city had no constitutional basis to seize the land without just and equitable compensation. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And the United Nations Human Rights Council is expected to hold an emergency meeting in Iran this Friday to discuss the alarming violence used against protesters. According to reports, human rights monitors have reported mass arrests in the country, with estimates exceeding 18,000 detainees as of mid-January this year. The session is being held following a request from Britain, Germany, Iceland, Moldova and North Macedonia. I'll look at your weather. It's a cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with scattered showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs between 23 and 25 degrees.
In Irene, bumper-to-bumper traffic approaching the intersection of Main Road and Nalmeipes Drive, while in Lenasia, Protea Glen, traffic heavily backed up on Nirvana Drive between Chris Hani and the N1.
The top story in Eyewitness News: more than 600 people from the Sporong informal settlement have taken refuge at a community hall after allegedly being driven from their homes by Zamazamas.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
We want to call the community, we want to call the parents that they must not allow their children to go into those cars that are not roadworthy. They must make sure that they must go out. And I think the question will be, how will the parents know that this car is not roadworthy? We want parents, we want community to call upon the authorities.
Matakanya is the General Secretary of the National Association of School Governing Bodies, reflecting, of course, tragic stories involving deaths.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Matric class of 2025, ready to spread your wings? South African Airways makes your uni journey easier with all-inclusive one-way fares from Johannesburg to Durban from 690 Rand, from Johannesburg to Gqeberha from 655, and from Johannesburg to Cape Town from 1,144. Plus, pack more of what you need with 2 checked bags instead of 1. On sale until 12 Feb. Travel by 12 Feb 2026. Book now at flysaa.com. T's and C's apply.
We at Monument Dental are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium when you switch? For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
EWN Sport.
Right, let's get the latest from the world of sport. Tolakele Mganga, some, what would you call it? Turbulence, intrigue, what's the right word at Sundowns?
Miscommunication.
Okay.
I'd go for that one.
Nothing as dramatic as intrigue. I'll leave it to you.
Thanks so much, John. Well, Miguel Cardoso insists he's not bothered by outside noise amid a speculation about his future at Mamelodi Sundowns. During the festive season, multiple reports claim that the Brazilians were in negotiations with former coach Pitso Mosimane with the intention of luring him back to the club. On the pitch, the Brazilians underlined their title credentials with a 2-0 win over Orbit College, which ascended them to the summit of the Betway Premiership.
There's clearly people that wants to hurt Sundowns, wants to hurt people in charge of Sundowns, wants to hurt the coaches, wants to hurt the players, wants to hurt everything. But they will keep frustrated because we are strong, very, very strong. Regarding my future, don't worry about my future because my future doesn't depend on football. Just my professional life depends on football. It's completely different. My future depends on many, many, many other things. Depends much more on music than on football. Depends much more on the nature than on football.
The action continues tonight as Kaizer Chiefs host Golden Arrows while Stellenbosch travel to Sekhukhune United. Ahead of it, the Cape Side have confirmed the triple signings of Tsegofatso Mabasa and Kabumelo Kodisang, both on loan from Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns respectively, while Musa Lebusa joins as a free agent. Gavin Hunt will look to start his tenure with 3 points as Stellies are currently languishing in 14th place.
Where you used to have a little bit of a gap, I think everybody's got a bit better. Maybe they got the recruitment or, those type of things. So we need to obviously get out of the situation a little bit, Obviously the league game, next league game is vitally important for us, You're never surprising football. Cape Town City last year got a top side, blah, blah, blah. So you can never think you're never good enough to be where you are. It takes hard work, grind, grit, all the famous things. So how much is it really tactical and all those type of things? We need to get the group together.
At the Australian Open, Belinda Bennett, Yannick Sinner and 2-time champion Naomi Osaka are just some of the players that have progressed to the next round following wins today. Madison Keys began her title defense with a nervy victory over Alexandra Olikova.
I think obviously started a little slow today and definitely nervous, but I mean, totally props to her as well. A little bit more of like an unconventional style, so I feel like that made things a little extra tricky at the start, but I felt like the end of the tiebreaker, I really kind of found my game and then was able to just kind of carry that into the second set.
And the Proteas women will host India in a 5-match T20 series, which is scheduled to take place in Durban, Johannesburg and Benoni from the 17th until the 27th of April. The series will serve as South Africa's final assignment ahead of the Women's World Cup, which begins on the 12th of June in England. At the T20 event, Mandla Mashimbi's Chargers have been drawn in Group 1, alongside Australia, Pakistan, India and 2 teams from the qualifiers. Tola Gelemganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Okay, out onto the roads we go then with Karabo Chali. Good afternoon again. What are we looking at? I believe we've already got a couple of snags. There was an overturned truck.
Yep.
Just remind us where it was and the current update, please.
Well, at this stage, that overturned truck, some good news has been cleared. That's in the Irene area, R21 southbound. Between the N1 and Nalmay Pierce Drive. Traffic is now free-flowing through there. However, still in the Irene area, there's still some delays. This is approaching the intersection of Main Road and Nalmay Pierce Drive. Otherwise, in Lenasia, Protea Glen area, traffic remains heavily backed up. This is on Nirvana Drive between the N12 and Chris Hani Road. Otherwise, at this stage, things not looking bad throughout the rest of Gauteng. 702 land, no other accidents have been reported. Just look out for those faulty traffic lights in Douglasdale at Leslie and Douglas Drive. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Coming up now for 18 minutes to 4. So, Tola Kelly, we were talking about traffic jams, and sometimes they're irritating, sometimes they create some low-level disruption in one's life. You late for a lunch appointment, or you get to a football stadium and the game's already started. And then there are those traffic jams that cause serious consequences for you. Maybe you're off to a job interview. Maybe you've got a doctor's appointment with a specialist you battle to get. And the list is long. Aeroplane waiting not for you before it takes off, that kind of thing. Has that ever happened to you where either you've like Karabo Chali, for example, on his way to an exam, 45 minutes late, but he still aced it, which we're all impressed by. But has anything like that happened to you?
John, we still don't know if you used AI, so let's not get carried away.
I don't think there was AI in those days.
In 2005, I'm sure.
There was AI, but there was no AI.
I think 3 times. Once for a matric exam, I think it was English, there was a taxi strike that we weren't alerted to. It was just on the day of it, literally started.
Right.
And like all of us were late for the exam, but our teachers let us rewrite. I remember our first ever job interview. I miscalculated how long it was going to take me to get there.
Yes.
And I was an hour late, but thankfully the people were really understanding, because also I was like fresh out of university. They were like, okay, we understand that you're still using public transport. You don't have your own money.
Right.
And I assumed that they thought I was an interesting enough candidate that they still wanted to see face to face. And then I've also had one, the first time me and my mom went on a girls' trip together. We missed our flight because we were stuck in so much traffic. I think I take for granted because I get into the office a bit later. So by the time I'm on the road at past 10, there's no one. John, at 6 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
There are so many people on the roads. I could not believe it. In my head, I was like, 30 minutes, I'll get to the airport.
I would have thought the same.
So that
after
day,
all these years,
I was just like, no, thank you. Like, even if it's like 2 hours before and I have my breakfast at the airport, I'd rather be super, super early than have to deal with that again.
Yeah. So give us a call. I mean, what we're doing with this is, when we talk about traffic, it's invariably about roads and cars and so on. But as, we're trying to convey in every vehicle is somebody trying to go about their business and lives and connected to other people who are either waiting for them because they need to get in the car with them, or waiting for them because they've got some other business together. So I'm just interested to know, has the traffic and a big traffic jam ever for you gone beyond not just an irritation or an inconvenience, but something that had real consequence for you in your life? Give us a call on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Grief for the families who lost their children in this horrific Scholar transport crash in Vanderbijl Park. Families all around South Africa don't have a choice in who transports their kids to and from school. They just have to pay and hope that their kids get to school safely. There's a bigger question here to be asked. Are we a country that no longer abides by the law? Is that who we are?
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Mzansi, Powerball skyrockets to an epic 177 million rand estimated jackpot this Tuesday, the second highest ever recorded jackpot in Ituba's history. Play now and you could win big, just like Friday's Powerball Plus winner who bagged over 33 million rand via the National Lottery platform. Buy your tickets now in-store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or dial star 120 star 7529 hash for USSD. Panda, push a play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
For the best game viewing, you go to Mpumalanga. For the best whale watching, you go to Hermanus. And for the best in investments, go to Nedbank. Earn up to 7.6% interest with the Nedbank Just Invest account and access your funds within 24 hours. For better returns, go with Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Every day I'm hustling. It's our reality as business owners. And it's good to know that there's someone out there who takes care of the business that makes the business. Gotta love My Way Business Insurance. Saving big on premiums with 24/7 emergency services, plus My Business Assist with marketing, legal, and labor advice services.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Stop and think. Will you survive the AI revolution or thrive? Regenesis students are thriving. 11 cutting-edge schools, 111 countries. World-class team of 1,111 with one mission, awakening your potential. Choose from law, business, technology, AI, health, economics, entrepreneurship, public management, skills academy, and digital Regenesis. Undergraduate, postgraduate, upskilling, customized corporate programs. The question isn't, can you afford to enroll? It's, can you afford not to? Enroll now. Regenesis.net. Achieve your dreams.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
11 minutes now to 4 o'clock. Gauteng has long been recognized as South Africa's economic engine. Now the province is positioning itself on the global stage. As global leaders and investors gather at this year's World Economic Forum in Davos, questions remain about what Gauteng hopes to achieve, how these kind of global engagements might translate into local impact, and why these conversations matter right now. So to look at this, we're joined by the acting group CEO of the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency, Stembiso Dlamini. Welcome to 702 Drive. We are in conversation with the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency, building tomorrow's economy today. Mr. Dlamini, the decision to go to Davos, who are you hoping to see and what are you hoping to talk to them about? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John, and good afternoon to the listeners. Thank you for having us. John, for us as the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency, really Davos presents that strategic platform for the province to really advance its positioning as Africa's leading investment, industrial and innovation hub. And I think this is important given the time we're in, heightened global uncertainty, geopolitical fragmentation, as well as, if you look at it, accelerated technological changes. So really what we're trying to do is to engage with all the leaders that are here, those companies and investors that are willing to come into our destination to invest, but most importantly, those that are also looking to expand their business into the continent, because we're positioning ourselves as that South Africa's economic engine, but also the continent's most diversified subnational economy. So that's what we're trying to achieve ahead of our own Gauteng Investment Conference.
So have you got particular people that you've targeted, or particular entities, be they private sector or public, that's, you've figured out, okay, well, A, B, C, D, E, and F are all going to be in Dallas, and not Dallas, Davos, and if we can see 4 of them, it would be worthwhile. How do you figure out and prepare your diaries?
Fortunately, this year as Gauteng, we're coming in as an associate member of the World Economic Forum, where we have access to a plethora of leaders and organizations. What we're targeting is, of course, we're targeting multinationals who are wanting to set up, and with the hope that we're going to bring fresh capital into the province. We're looking for financiers and those that are wanting to invest either in infrastructure, manufacturing, because we're known as that, a hub of manufacturing. Those who are also looking at the automotive sector, as you know, John, that Gauteng leads, in that sector as well. We do have our special economic zones that focuses, mainly on automotive. So those are some of the companies that we want to see. However, we do know that for investment, things like your energy security and efficiencies are being looked at. So we're looking to engage with organizations that can assist us to look at, how we diversify energy supply and, and look at sustainable way of energy supply, so that they can assist us, and we can, they can contribute to our ESG's activities.
And in terms of the offering that, people are saying, okay, well, Gauteng, don't know much about it. What do you think is your most important selling point with the people that you either are meeting because you've met them before and you're building on an existing relationship, or people you're meeting for the first time?
So we trying to, like I said, we're trying to affirm Gauteng as that Africa's premier investment destination. It's just to remind everyone that if you look at the province, whilst we're small in landmass, we account to about 34% of South Africa's GDP. And if you look at the continent of Africa, it's 7%. If you're now looking at real GDP terms, it's about 128 billion US dollars. And basically, we want to showcase our competitive edge, which is within the trade and manufacturing space. We contribute about 40% of South Africa's manufacturing output, which is an important part for some of our investors to understand the kind of economy we're talking about. Like I said, small in landmass, but we know that at least 30% of South Africa's working population, and the largest SME concentration is in South Africa. So there's workforce and innovation capability. So those are some of the things that we communicate to the investors, out there. And the fact that we are well positioned, as a hub for companies and investors that would like to expand their businesses to the continent, particularly the SADC region, because of our logistics capability. I mean, we operate one of the busiest airports in the continent, or
Yes.
Tambo International Airport, and we've got land borders into, road networks into that would lead you to the land borders. So we're trying to position ourselves as that hub for, international companies and multinationals to set up, but also with that opportunity to expand into the continent.
Thank you very much. That conversation with Stembiso Dlamini, who's Acting Group CEO of the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency, sharing some thoughts on what they're doing out at Davos, who they're hoping to speak to, and what they hope the outcomes of those conversations will be. Behind Gauteng's Growth is an agency focused on action. The Gauteng Growth and Development Agency works to unlock economic opportunities, support job creation, and build partnerships that strengthen the province's competitiveness. Through its subsidiaries and development initiatives, the GGDA helps create the conditions for inclusive growth, ensuring Gauteng continues to lead as SA's economic engine. Learn more on ggda.co.za. #Invest in Gauteng.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Well, we've been having a lot of conversations now about public transport. We had them in the context of the road accident figures from the end of the year. And obviously we're having, tragically so, a conversation about it as well in the light of what happened in Vanderbijl Park. But in the background, there are interesting things happening. The South African National Taxi Council, SANTACO, has announced that they're going to be on their long distance vehicles initially. They're going to be focusing on installing breathalyzers in taxi vehicles. To talk about this, how this will work, and why indeed SANTACO is doing it, we welcome to the show Rebecca Pala, who is spokesperson for SANTACO. Very good afternoon to you, and thanks so much for giving us your time. How are these breathalyzers going to work? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John, and your listeners. The breathalyzers are being installed for two reasons. One, importantly, to restore commuter confidence and to ensure that they are driven by drivers who are well equipped to do that and not under any sort of alcohol influence. But secondly, to de-risk the taxi industry. We're still facing a big challenge of low interest from financiers. As a result of that, a lot of our vehicles are very expensive because they're worried about driver behavior and things of that sort. So that's just to also restore that kind of confidence. How it works is the technology of the breathalyzer is tied to the vehicle in terms of, for starters, the breathalyzer is connected to the starter cabling of the vehicle, which works in that before any trip is started, the driver would have to blow.
The Dis-Chem Better Rewards program is here, and every time you shop and save, you're also giving back. Each time you swipe, not only are you rewarded, but a percentage of your purchase is...
Okay, I'm not too sure what happened there. Ms. Pala, are you still with us?
I am.
Okay, sorry about the interruption. Please do continue. You were giving us the whys, and I'm looking forward to hearing about the hows.
So the how is that this device of the breathalyzer is installed into the vehicle. It works in this way. It gets to be connected to the starter wiring of the vehicle, which then means before any trip commences, the driver has to first blow into that breathalyzer. If they've got an alcoholic intake, the car will not start. If they do not, then the car will start effectively. And then it's also got an add-on of a camera, which effectively captures when the driver blows into the breathalyzer, so that they don't just ask a toddler or somebody in the home to blow for them before they start a trip in the morning. So that's effectively how it's going to work.
It's presumably a rollout over a period of time. My understanding, looking at a piece Roy Cocaine did on MoneyWeb, very informative. You're not going to do it all immediately. Where are you going to start, and how did you decide on what to prioritize?
So as I speak to you, we're actually in Midrand. We just installed it into 4 vehicles belonging to 4 different taxi associations that predominantly do long-distance traveling. We are prioritizing long distance as a start because the drivers there drive for long hours. We need them to be as healthy as possible. The idea is we've already installed some of the devices also in taxis in KZN with an association there. So the idea is to look at the busiest of the taxi associations, because also it's there that we're going to get a much more better understanding of how feasible is the technology and how effective is it.
Well, we'll watch that with a great deal of interest, and thank you, Rebecca Pala, spokesperson at Santaco. Small start, but an important set of intentions, I think. Breathalyzers that are linked to the functioning and starting up of long-distance taxis. If the driver declines to blow, they are not going to be able to get going. If they blow and they're found to be over the alcohol levels, then the taxi won't start. I mean, there are many, many issues you could raise with this. For example, this doesn't necessarily prevent a driver drinking on the road, although that would mean they couldn't get going again if they had to stop the vehicle for any reason. I get all of that, but I like the idea that they're looking at it and saying, okay, what can we do? And here's a solution. Anyone familiar, by the way, with using these in commercial fleets of different kinds or know the technology? Well, you might have some observations to share as well. It's just gone 4 o'clock, 7:02 Drive.
This is EWN.
More details emerge in the Vaal Scholar Transport crash, and EU members react to Trump's Greenland takeover. Good afternoon, I'm Maki Molapo. We begin with the latest coming from Sebokeng, where Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says the driver of the Scholar Transport vehicle was operating without the necessary PDP license, outlining that it expired in November last year. 12 children died in a Scholar Transport accident in Vanderbijl Park yesterday morning, and the driver has since been arrested and will appear in court in the next 2 days. Lesufi is currently briefing the media following the tragic incident that sent shockwaves countrywide. He says as of this afternoon, the families have all come forward and to positively identify the victims. Gauteng police have launched an investigation into the murder of 2 people and the attempted murder of 3 others following a shooting outside the Boysons Magistrates Court this afternoon. It's understood 3 gunmen wearing caps approached a group of 5 people as they were leaving court and fired shots. One of the injured survivors is a well-known attorney who is understood to be representing a suspected underworld figure. The accused was in court for a case of murder and attempted murder that happened in Monja in the south of Johannesburg last year. Gauteng police spokesperson Brenda Moredili.
The 2 victims were declared dead on the scene and 3 were taken to hospital with gunshot wounds. The police's serious and violent crime investigations from the provincial office will be investigating a case of 2 counts of murder and 3 counts of attempted murder.
Staying in the courts, the Justice Department says at least 14 of the country's courts have been affected by the recent severe weather conditions disrupting services. Heavy rains have ravaged parts of the country, with the floods in Limpopo and Mpumalanga claiming 38 lives. The department says most of the courts are experiencing roof leaks, electricity supply outages and structural damage. Justice Deputy Director General Laki Mohalaba says they have asked the Public Works Department for assistance.
We have had about 3 days last week where there's been no access to the majority of the courts, where the community bridges were also damaged, leading to members of the community as well as the staff members not being able to access the courts. We have logged calls with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, and we are working with the department in the province to really assist us to fix what has been damaged.
In the National Assembly, former Independent Police Investigative Directorate Head Robert McBride has told Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption that there was no evidence against Shadrack Sibiya for kidnapping and defeating the ends of justice. McBride testified that it was in fact crime intelligence officers who framed Sibiya and former Hawks head Anwar Dramat following the arrest of former crime intelligence head Richard Mdluli. A preliminary IPID report had recommended that Sibiya and Dramat be charged, but a second report by McBride cleared the 2 men. The fallout was over the rendition of Zimbabwean nationals in South Africa who were allegedly kidnapped.
Upon my appointment, I asked to be briefed on all high-profile cases. One of the cases I was briefed on was the rendition case mentioned above in paragraph 16. After the briefing, it became clear to me that the investigation had not been conducted independently and impartially in line with the IPID Act.
Johannesburg City Power is owed more than 10 billion rand in unpaid electricity bills by both its commercial and residential customers. The municipal power utility has been struggling to collect revenue for services rendered due to the apparent reluctance of customers to settle their bills. The city led a cut-off operation in Johannesburg CBD today, targeting commercial customers whose accounts are in arrears. Alpha Ramushana has more.
Joburg City Power spokesperson Isaac Mangena says there seems to be a culture of non-payment of electricity bills in the CBD.
The CBD is the highest in terms of the debt that is sitting with City Power, the 10 billion rands debt that we have. Most of it is sitting within the inner city and majority of it is with the businesses.
He says due to the non-payment, City Power is currently not meeting its expected revenue collection standards.
Currently as City Power and the city, we are basically in the red in terms of the revenue that is needed to ensure that we run City Power operations and also at the city.
Earlier this year, the city disconnected electricity to a bottle store in Newtown that has not only been defaulting on payments but also bypassed its electricity meter. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says the bloc plans massive investments in Greenland in a bid to counter US President Donald Trump's threats to take the territory. She says she stands in full solidarity with the autonomous Danish territory, declaring that sovereignty and integrity of their territory is non-negotiable. Von der Leyen says the bloc will work with the United States and all partners on wider Arctic security, adding that this is in the shared interest of stepping up investments. EU leaders are expected to meet in Brussels on Thursday for a summit aimed at forging a united response to Trump's escalation over Greenland. Gold's trading at $4,745.96 an ounce. The rand's at 16.45 to the dollar, at 22.12 to the pound, at 19.29 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $64.37 a barrel.
In the city of Tshwane, you can still expect delays in Irene. This is on Main Road between the N1 and the Maypierce Drive. In Hermanstad, leaving the Pretoria CBD, there's slow-moving traffic. On Eskiam Pahlele, this is between Boehm Street and the R80, and driving through the Joburg CBD, bumper-to-bumper traffic on the M1 southbound. That's heading towards Boysens between Killarney Bends and the Crown Interchange.
In your sport, a refreshed Kaizer Chiefs look ahead to their Bedway Premiership clash against Golden Arrows, Morocco to launch legal action over controversial AFCON final defeat, and Steph Curry makes NBA All-Star history as LeBron James misses out.
A look at your weather. A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. Tomorrow, Joburg will drop to overnight lows of 14 degrees and peak at highs of 25. Pretoria and Vereeniging are both at 15 and 26 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says the driver of the Scholar Transport in Vanderbijl Park was operating without the necessary PDP license, outlining that it expired in November last year.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. It is the second hour of the show with me, John Perlman, and the rest of the team. Great to have you with us. If you've just joined us, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to having your company for as long as you can stay. Coming up over the next hour in the aftermath of the Vanderbijl Park crash, quite a bit of reference to counselling being offered to families, to people who might have witnessed the accident, to schoolmates of the 12 learners tragically killed, and to others as well. It does raise questions, though, counselling in the aftermath of trauma of this kind. What happens in the immediate few days after the incident? But more crucially, what do people need as the effects of the trauma unfold as they do? But the focus of attention perhaps shifts to other needs and other areas of crisis in our country. What is needed and how do we go about making sure it's provided? Philip Stoneman is founder of Trauma Support SA. He's my guest in a moment. Ad hoc committee in Parliament looking into corruption and matters as they relate to the police has been hearing from Robert McBride, former head of IPID, former head of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police, and a man He's played other roles in law enforcement. He's been the person giving evidence. Babalo Ndenze has been listening. We'll hear from him later. And as the town of Knysna moves closer to day zero, in many ways, I think we can learn quite a lot by looking at how this has been allowed to happen. Yes, of course, the weather is a factor you cannot control. Investment in infrastructure is something you absolutely can control. In fact, people are paid handsome sums of money to do just that. We'll talk to Anton Bredell. He's Western Cape Minister for Local Government, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning. What's interesting about Minister Bredell is that he has a long timeline on this because he's held that position since 2009. We look forward to his perspective at 10 to 5. Yesterday, we spoke to the current mayor, Thando Matika, who's from the ANC, but Minister Bredell's party, the DA, has controlled Knysna for long stretches as well. He's with us, as I said, later in the show. Please do give us a call on these and any other issues on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. It's nearly time to head back to university, so why hit the road when you can fly? Book at flysaa.com. Do it right now. Let's get the very latest traffic news now. And if you're in Irene, you are probably moving slower than you'd like. Karabo Charlie with the details.
Yeah, there's slow-moving traffic that's on a main road between the N1 and Newmakers Drive in the Irene area. Still in Tshwane, Hermanstad leaving the Pretoria CBD. Slow-moving traffic on Eskiam Pahlele between Boom Street and the R80. Driving through the Joburg CBD. That's heading towards the Boysens area. You can now expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on the M1 southbound from Killarney Bends to the Crown Interchange and in Protea Glen. Traffic sluggish on the R559 main road opposite GOG Gardens. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Getting ready for university, let South African Airways take the pressure out of your travel. Enjoy all-inclusive one-way fares from Johannesburg to Durban from 690 Rand, from Johannesburg to Gqeberha from 655, and from Johannesburg to Cape Town from 1,144. Plus, pack more of what you need with 2 checked bags instead of 1. On sale until 12 Feb. Travel by 12 Feb 2026. Book now at flysaa.com. T's and C's apply.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Okay, let's focus our attention on this many aspects of the killing of those learners, their tragic deaths out in Vanderbijl Park is being investigated. We hear that there may be a charge of culpable homicide that the driver faces. And we'll explore that in a little detail, by the way, after 5 o'clock. Culpable homicide charges and traffic accidents. Generally, what do the courts look for? What have they tended to rule? That conversation for later. But the other thread has been trying to assist in their extreme trauma and grief, the people who've been affected by this tragedy. So I had a question as I was watching it, because I heard on a number of news reports here and elsewhere, counseling is being provided. Counseling has been provided. The question I'm keen to understand a little bit better is, what kind of counseling do people need if they are to deal in any comprehensive way, if indeed that's possible, with the emotions and the grief that they are currently experiencing? I get that some counseling immediately afterwards will be helpful, but there may well be reverberations in people's lives. I would think there probably almost certainly will be. The birthday of a child that has been lost, perhaps seeing somebody who looks like your kid from behind and imagining that they're still alive, engaging with the child's friends or running into them in the mall. I can think of just 3 triggers, and I'm sure there's probably 33 more. Philip Stoneman is founder of Trauma Support SA, experienced in dealing with all these things, and he joins us now to share some thoughts. Mr. Stoneman, welcome and thanks very much for giving us your time. I would think that people in a situation who've gone through what parents, schoolmates, and so on of these 12 deceased learners, what they're going through now needs immediate help, but I would think it needs quite a lot more. What exactly is that more? Good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, John, and afternoon to your listeners. I think it's important to understand that, your immediate needs are going to be more practical and providing a form of emotional support, trying to even counsel and listen to the story, or trying to push that story is just going to cause more potential harm in that. And just being a quiet presence,
Yes.
immediately. And on that scene, possibly, I've been on similar types of scenes over the many years. And just being available and listening and providing an emotional and practical support where possible. But then leading after that, and I would say that the funerals and the memorial services, and, this story is deeply upsetting. I mean,
Yes.
I cannot imagine what the family and the friends in the community are experiencing. But after that, after the memorial services, the being able to get a listening ear, a supportive ear that is willing to listen and just hear your story. And as you said, those triggers, seeing a child that looks like your child or, triggers that story. And in addition to that bereavement and that grief, a lot of the parents were actually on the scene. So it's not just a question of dealing with the grief,
Yes.
but they're also dealing with the trauma of what they saw and dealing with that trigger. And that bereavement trauma makes it a lot more complex.
I was struck by something you said in the beginning, Mr. Stoneman, where you said that the importance of having a quiet and attentive and a listening presence. That would suggest to me that the person who could provide that doesn't necessarily have to be someone who's specifically trained as being a counselor or a therapist. Would I be right in that? And the reason I ask that is given how stretched public resources are in our country, should we be building a whole cadre of people who can actually get involved at that level without them necessarily having to study for 4 or 6 years?
Absolutely, and that's one of my passions, and that's one of the reasons why we started Trauma Support SA, was to raise awareness, to educate, but to also equip and empower volunteers within the community, that you've got these volunteers who can provide that listening ear. Our resources are stretched. If you look at how many psychologists there are, and it's not to take away from their skills and their abilities, but we've got a huge section of our community or of our population that they don't always have the money, and we don't always have ready access to a trained therapist. So yes, having volunteers and building up those type of teams that can provide that type of support when a person is needed. For example, try and make an appointment with the psychologist now. It might be a few weeks before you can even see somebody.
Right.
And as I said, that's not to take away from the work that they do, but we do need more volunteers and more NGOs that are trained. But, you don't have to go to, get a degree in that to be able to listen. If you understand trauma and you are willing to listen, and that quiet presence, I think that's really important.
I'm just wondering about these, the next 8-10 days, maybe 2 weeks for let's just stay with the families. I think perhaps this might be a little different for schoolmates and so on, because at least they're in a community of care and concern, but the family is consumed with practical arrangements. I know that the attention they're getting is well meant, but they've got to deal with people they don't know coming to visit them, expressing condolences. There will then be funerals, which will have a public and a media presence. There's a court case to consider that they may or may not wish to attend. I would think this is a mixed blessing for people experiencing trauma, because on the one hand, being busy and focused on specifics may help, but I would have thought it can also be counterproductive. What's your experience? Because at some point they need time on their own and time where they're at the center of what they're feeling and not at the center of perhaps other people's purposes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having, they need space. Families will need space to grieve on their own. And, one of the things that I've always said, when I'm doing training and that is also saying, healing doesn't always happen in community, or it doesn't always happen in the counseling session, but in community, but also within your life. And it's a long journey, but at the same time, they do need space. And we've got to recognize that. And unfortunately, many people will want to help, but sometimes, the desire to help doesn't always translate into being able to help. And we have to be sensitive to that and respect that and respect their need for just a little bit of distance sometimes and be able to say, what do you need? Because very often we're telling people what they need. And we don't always ask them, what do you need?
Yeah. Boy, there's a lot to consider, but thank you. Lots of insights there from our guest, Philip Stoneman, founder of Trauma Support SA. Given the nature of our country and the kind of things that so many people have gone through, tragedies of this kind and related tragedies as well, unexpected and awful death, maybe you've got an experience you want to share. What for you represented counseling? What for you represented care and engagement with the pain that you were going through? And maybe based on your experience, you might have some thoughts as to what the bereaved of Vanderbijl Park might need at this moment. Please do call us on that and share your views. 21 minutes past 4.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Right, down to Parliament we go, the ad hoc committee looking at corruption in the police and related matters. All of this, need I remind you, prompted by allegations made last July by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal. Today was the turn of Robert McBride, a man who's been involved in intelligence, crime intelligence, policing, and the monitoring of police. He's worn a great number of hats, and he was in Parliament today. Babalo Ndenze, EWN reporter, was listening closely. Babalo, very good afternoon to you. Quite a lot made of Robert McBride, his CV, and what the MPs believed were gaps in that. I'd like to park all of that for the moment and ask you first off, we might get back to the CV stuff a little bit later, but first off, what did he say that shed light on all the other things we've been hearing from all the other witnesses so far? Any rays of light coming from Robert McBride?
Yes, indeed, John. He has provided some, rays of light and some, insights into certain issues that have come up during the inquiry. For example, speaking of Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who, was the first witness and who also mentioned Robert McBride during his submission and how, the intelligence structures or the committee, the JSCI, should look into McBride, especially his conduct as the head of IPED. And one of these, he's alleging that Mkhwanazi, for example, was there when one of the IPED members who were under his command were, shot and killed a number of years ago. He says Mkhwanazi was aware of this. He was, in the vicinity. He doesn't give any detail, but he says that, he found it strange that when it came to the IPED member's funeral, even though Mkhwanazi had claimed to be close to Mandla Mahlangu, he never attended that funeral, and he says this is for him, is questionable. He also, questions issues around, Mkhwanazi and, the fact that this former IPED or this late IPED official, according to reports, according to McBride, he was apparently or allegedly murdered or killed by, the police because he was looking into issues around police corruption and crime intelligence. And he's also touched on issues that involve, the former head of the Hawks, Anwar Dramat, as well as Shadrack Sibiya and Dramat, as well as the rendition of these Zimbabwean nationals, which is quite an issue that he's focused a lot of his time on. And, you'll remember that he was suspended by former Minister Nathi Nhleko, for taking action against Sibiya and Dramat. And he says this is because, they had arrested, former crime intelligence head Richard Mdluli. And we all know Richard Mdluli and his checkered past and all that he's done and his indiscretions. And he's saying that, this, Sibiya Dramat arrest was basically to stop these investigations into these gentlemen. He initially, these an IPID report had initially, recommended that they be charged, but he later issued a second report. This is Robert McBride, and this report basically found Sibiya and Dramat not guilty, and he says Shadrack Sibiya was just a victim of, Stratcom, as he calls it, the communication, propaganda and strategy to discredit him. And he's also talking about issues around Homotso Phahlane, who mentioned McBride last week during his testimony that McBride was actually at the center of trying to prevent him from being promoted to do a full-time national commissioner and not acting commissioner. And he says it was, his propaganda and his tactics that prevented him from being a full-time commissioner and eventually being fired as national commissioner and from the police. And, this investigation, John, involves, investigation into various luxury cars that Phahlane allegedly, had bought, and he was buying this because he was being supported by service providers of the police. He mentioned some of these service providers. He says some of this equipment that was procured by Phahlane was defective.
Right.
And he's also saying that, and there's also quite an 8 million rand house that's under discussion a short while ago that belongs to Phahlane allegedly. And McBride says, well, they were also looking into this 8 million rand house. It's an exorbitant amount of money for a house belonging to a police officer. So he's talking about all these investigations they were conducting as IPID, which is why I guess he was targeted as the head of IPID by the police, especially crime intelligence. So that's really been some of the issues that he's shed light on, besides that earlier issue around his CV and all that information that had been omitted.
And if you were to pick out a tricky moment that he might have had, what would that tricky moment have involved, if indeed there were any?
Not really. A few tricky moments at the beginning. I guess it was just his interactions with individual members of the committee. A lot of members, from the ANC's Ngola, who basically complained that McBride was making funny gestures, when he was being questioned by Darlene James of Action SA. The MK party's Wandera Nomvalo also saying that, he's making funny faces, and his attitude, and his demeanor, he seems to be slouching on his chair. They are accusing him of maybe being a bit arrogant, and they were just fearful that this committee or this day of evidence might drag on into the late night because of Robert McBride's attitude towards members. He also, is clearly, an intelligence operative. And, at the beginning, there were some issues around this. And he said that, he needs permission from his principals, and his principals being the head of intelligence in cabinet, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, as well as the DG. So those were that was the tricky start to the hearing this morning, was really around issues around, his status as an intelligence operative, refusing to confirm that, and really just his attitude towards members and towards the committee when questions are being put to him by the evidence leader, Norman Arendse, as well as the members of the committee, John.
Thanks very much, Babalo and Denze, watching those hearings closely for us. And we'll get updates from him, I'm sure, in regular news bulletins. We'll have one of those, by the way, in about 2.5 minutes, but not before we've had the very latest from the world of business.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, a very good afternoon to you. What's been happening on the markets?
Afternoon to you, John. Yeah, quite a lot. I mean, gold at record highs once again. I've lost track of the number of times I've said that. Now under $300 away. It's it's past $4,730, John. So getting closer and closer to that $5,000 an ounce mark. And this is all, of course, about Greenland. We expect the U.S. President Donald Trump to speak at Davos tomorrow. Scott Bessent, his Treasury Secretary, has been speaking today and seems to be trying to calm the waters a little bit, telling European EU leaders not to sort of overreact, don't get into a tariff war, things will settle, etc. Kind of his job, I suppose, to settle whatever whichever storm his boss starts. The JSE All-Share benefiting, of course, from gold up 0.15%, 120,300 points. Financials down 0.33%, industrials down 1.3%, but resources just making up for all of that, up 2.19%. Anglo Gold up 4.38%, Goldfields up 4.3%, Pan-African up nearly 3%, and Harmony up 2.69%. Interestingly, Life Healthcare up 3% on a day in which it seems that the truce that Enoch Godongwana was looking for around the NHI is just not going to happen. The Board of Healthcare funders saying no, although the SA Medical Association representing doctors says yes. Last week we heard from one of the healthcare organizations. They also said they'll be happy to negotiate. So very interested just to see how that all plays out over the next little while. And Motus, John, the automotive company, they're up just slightly, 0.05%, despite all of the reports today about what seems to be huge staff unhappiness. We'll look at that on the Money Show tonight. Alpha Min, they're down 4.65. Tungela down 3.56 on the day. Naspers and Process down around 2.5%. Merafe Resources saying their ferrochrome production by their joint venture with Glencore down by 63% in the year to the end of December. Obviously, they had suspended production at their smelter because of high electricity prices. We don't yet have a long-term solution to that problem. Their platinum production was up by 5%, though, and a higher platinum price, they'll capitalize on that. And Sasol confirming the Growth Point chair, Ridwan Khassant, being appointed to the board as an independent non-executive director. U.S. markets set to open, well, quite a lot lower, it seems. So bear in mind that this is the first trading in the U.S. since the announcement about Greenland. That's because of the holiday yesterday. Already, as you know, gold at record highs. So we're expecting a bit of a drop when those markets open, well, kind of in about 30 seconds. The gold price now, $4,733.37 an ounce. Platinum, $2,401.30. Brent crude, $64.22. The rand to the dollar slightly weaker, 16.45. To the euro, 19.29. To the British pound, 22.12. Stephen Krotis, EWN Business.
7:02 Drive. Thank you, Stephen. Back with us in about 55 minutes. Time for us, as I promised you, to get the very latest eyewitness news. Marky Molapo is standing by. Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi, I believe, giving some information about that Vanderbijl Park accident. What's he saying, Marky?
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says the driver of the fatal Scholar Transport crash in Vanderbijl Park was illegally operating the vehicle when tragedy struck. 12 children died yesterday following an accident involving the minibus taxi they were travelling in and a side tipper truck on Fred Droster Road near the N1. The driver has since been arrested and is set to appear in court this week facing 12 counts of culpable homicide. Lesufi briefed the media in Sebokeng a short while ago.
We have now established that the PDP, which is the Public Driver's Certificate, has expired last year in November, and therefore he was driving without the necessary permits.
He says as of this afternoon, the victims' families have all come forward to positively identify their loved ones.
With the work of the law enforcement agencies, in particular the SAPS and the Department of Health, can now confirm that 12 children passed on. Of all those children, 11 were identified. When we were preparing for this briefing, the last family came forward, and all the children have now been duly identified.
We move to the Western Cape, where conditions remain challenging for firefighters battling fire lines in the Franschhoek area. Crews worked through the night to contain the flames, but there's still serious concern. A strong southeasterly gusting up 50 kilometers per hour is fanning the flames and increasing the risk of flare-ups. The Cape Islands District Municipality's Joanne Otto says the wind is also preventing the deployment of aerial resources.
Teams will continue with active firefighting and property protection throughout the night. Furthermore, the Cape Islands Fire Services and partners responded to fires in the Iders Valley and Peniel areas earlier this afternoon. Resources were deployed and both fires were rapidly contained.
At the same time, reports from the Heidelberg indicate that the Winelands Fire Protection Association is dealing with an active fire causing plumes of smoke in Somerset West. Ground teams and aerial support are actively trying to contain the blaze, but strong winds are making the situation difficult. According to an alert seen by Eyewitness News, Somerset West residents are still safe and not in any danger. Some residents from the Sporong informal settlement who were allegedly driven out of their homes by Zamazamas say they are afraid to go back. More than 600 of them have taken refuge at the Randgate Community Hall in Rand West. The residents say they were forced to abandon their homes after repeatedly being terrorized by illegal miners. Tabiso Goba has more.
The Sporong informal settlement was established near a decommissioned mine. For many years, the community has lived relatively peacefully alongside Zamazamas, who come in search of gold-bearing material. However, over the last few years, community members say the Zamazamas started breaking into their homes, robbing and attacking them. Resident Esther Mhlongo is one of the victims.
They forced themselves into my home by breaking down the door. They found me hiding under the bed and pulled me by my gown. I apologized to them and said I was coming out, but they kept on hitting me with their guns.
Like many of the people now crammed into the community hall, Mhlongo says she's scared of going back. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News, Randwest.
And Spain's king and queen are visiting the site of the collision of two high-speed trains that killed at least 41 people. The country began its 3 days of national mourning today. More than 120 people were injured and 39 people are still in hospital, including 4 children. The royal couple is expected to visit injured passengers later on today at a hospital in nearby Boda. Flags are being flown at half-mast on public buildings, television anchors are wearing black, and cabinet ministers have rescheduled all public appearances. A look at your weather. A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected tomorrow. Temperatures will drop to overnight lows of 14 and 15 degrees and peak at highs of 25 and 26 degrees.
In Hermanstad, bumper-to-bumper traffic that's leaving the Pretoria CBD on Eskiam Pahlele between Boom and the R80 Irene. You can still expect delays on Main Road between the N1 and Nalmeipers Drive, and in Polshof there's slow-moving traffic on Witkoppen Road between Main Road and Stonehaven.
The top story in Eyewitness News. Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says the driver of the fatal Scholar Transport crash in Vanderbijl Park was illegally operating the vehicle when tragedy struck.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Mabota, 1 to 3 p.m.
In terms of prompting, what does that look like? Because I think many of us, when we started with AI, was treating it like a Google search.
So prompt is just a fancy name for the text input that we as humans put into the platform. It's really just a pattern recognition platform. So basically what happens is we put input into that platform, and as a result of our input, the AI platform predicts the most likely and logical text to use to respond to us. So on that basis, you can see that the quality of your prompt directly affects the quality of what you get. So if you pop in the kind of phrasing and language you would use in a standard Google search, you're not really using the platform in the optimal way.
Tiffany Markman, communication consultant, writer, and a speaker.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Mabota.
Let's walk the talk.
Are you one of our loyal listeners? Did you tune in over the holidays while some of us were off recharging? How did the stand-in hosts do? We'd love to hear from you, so please send us your feedback to contact@702.co.za. Even better, why don't you do it in person? Come and visit us this Friday, the 23rd. We'll be hosting another 702 visit at lunchtime. We'll take you on a tour of our lovely building. It really is gorgeous. And we'll show you our studios. Now, if you'd like to come book your seat, simply send us an email. Same address again, contact@702.co.za. We love to meet and connect with you.
The festive rush doesn't wait. Orders, deliveries, messages, calls. This summer, you'll need connectivity that doesn't tap out when the pressure is on. With Telkom Business, you get reliable, high-speed connectivity for just $2.99 per month. That's our unlimited LTE, all hours basic plan, 10 megabytes per second. No caps, no excuses.
This summer, your business deserves the best. Visit telkom.co.za/business for deals that grow your business. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Naked people run faster. Because naked people spend less time on insurance admin and more time working on their personal bests. Go to naked.insure now, get a car insurance quote in 90 seconds, and get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP.
Mzansi, Powerball has skyrocketed to an epic 177 million rand estimated jackpot this Tuesday, the second highest ever recorded jackpot in Ituba's history. Play now and you could win big, just like Friday's Powerball Plus winner who bagged over 33 million rand via the National Lottery platform. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or dial *120*7529# for USSD. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
EWN Sport.
Okay, back to the playing fields we go with Tolakele Mganga. Betway Premiership action this evening. Chiefs are stepping out and resuming their campaign. Tolakele, who they playing? What are they saying?
Well, John, they take on Golden Arrows in one of two games scheduled this evening. The Glamour Boys have yet to reinforce their squad in the January transfer window, while rivals Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns have added 3 players each to theirs in preparation for the second half of the campaign. For Cedric Kaze, he believes there's enough talent within Amakosi's ranks to challenge for honours.
It was like a pre-season because you have your full squad. Because as well, if you remember well, we had a little bit issues of in our last pre-season to start the league, where our fitness coach was not, due to some administrative issues, he couldn't attend the pre-season in Holland. But now I would say that all the players are sharp, are fit, and they have worked as a unit, as a group.
The UEFA Champions League group stage games continue this evening with 5 fixtures scheduled. Pep Guardiola's Manchester City will be looking to bounce back from their Manchester derby mauling with a comprehensive win over Bodo Glimt, while Thomas Frank is hoping that Tottenham Hotspur can return to winning ways when they take on Borussia Dortmund. It's been a difficult campaign for him so far, with Spurs 14th in the Premier League, having won just 7 of their last 22 games.
Sometimes a little bit you're in that spell where it's not going your way. That's part of it. Are you still working hard? Are you still trying hard? Are you still believing? Which I see signs of clearly in every game. And then, of course, I think even the best coach in the world, Pep Guardiola, say, I'm nothing without my players. I'm nothing without the best players available. I think it's fair to say they haven't been available enough at the same time the whole season, which makes it a little bit more tricky.
The Moroccan Football Federation will take legal action with both CAF and FIFA regarding the stoppage in play during the 2025 AFCON final. According to their FA, Senegal's decision to exit the field took a toll on the rhythm of the game and had an adverse effect on player concentration and performance. At the same time, Moroccan police have arrested 18 Senegalese fans and 1 Algerian following Sunday's final. And in the NBA, LeBron James will not feature in the All-Star lineup for the first time in 21 years, having missed out on selection for the 10-player roster. For 37-year-old Steph Curry, he's become the oldest guard in NBA history to be named as an All-Star starter.
Pretty much every acknowledgement you get at this point is you're the oldest to do something. So don't ever take that for granted. I appreciate everybody who voted, my teammates who continue to set the table for me to do what I do, keep pushing the envelope on what's possible at this stage of my career. So just the idea that I can, get back to that level year after year and the work that goes into it, I love it. And I hopefully I have a couple more, in the future, but this is pretty special for sure.
Tolakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
18 minutes to 5 on 702 Drive. This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Cars.coza. Let's find what moves you. Karabo Charlie, keeping an eye on what's happening on the roads. What kind of day are we having?
Well, it's quite a busy day, particularly in the city of Tshwane. John, at this stage, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic in the Hermanstad area on Eskiam Patlele between Boom Street and the R18. Groenkloof, traffic sluggish. This is on George Storer Drive between Tutoy and the Fountain Circle, while in Irene, expect delays on Main Road between the N1 and Lomé Drive. In Poles of Joburg, slow-moving traffic. This is on Witkoppen Road between Main and Stonehaven, and driving through the Joburg CBD, heading towards Boysens. You can expect about a 20-minute delay on the M1 southbound between Killarney Benz and the Crown Interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Hey, Jim, what's wrong? Hi, Bob. I'm just so confused. I'm trying to buy a car, and I don't know where to stop.
Well, have you tried to... Cars.coza, cars.coza.
Have you tried to... Sorry, we're trying to do an advert.
Whatever car you want to buy or sell, cut through the and just go to cars.coza and let's find what moves you. Cars.coza.
Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Still to come on 702 Drive. In a moment, we're going to be chatting to Minister Anton Bredell. He's the Minister for Local Government, the Environment and Development. I might have got the title slightly wrong, but you have a strong sense of the areas in which he works. He's held that position in the Western Cape. In the Western Cape, they refer to what we in Gauteng, for example, call MECs. They call ministers. So he's not a national minister, but holds that authority at a provincial level. We're going to talk to him about the situation in Knysna. We spoke yesterday to the current mayor, but the timelines of the crisis the town and its environments face is a very, very long one. So he's held that position since 2009, as I said earlier, and hopefully he can shed some light on why things weren't done when they should have been done, because these things don't get fixed quickly. That's coming up in a moment. But before that, I just want to get your take on something Kabazela that caught his eye and said that we thought maybe some of you would have some thoughts on this. No shows in restaurants. If you have booked a restaurant place and you're not planning to go, do you always remember? And we're not going to smack you over the wrist if you say, no, actually, I don't get round to it. But the story sets out how much problems this actually causes for an industry that's crucial in terms of employment numbers, vital in terms of small business creation and sustenance. And these no-shows cause them a massive problem, to the point where, I don't know if it's happening to any extent in South Africa, but in other parts of the world, you're going to have to pay a deposit if you make a booking. You've got to put some cash down. That is a way of discouraging people about being too casual about bookings that they've made. If you own a restaurant, by the way, do tell us how no-shows affect you and how you deal with clients who let you down in that way. Give us a call on that on 011 883 0702. Tolakele, if you're not planning to go, do you let them know?
Yes. Mainly, I also, even though we have a date selected, I always wait like 2 days before.
Yes.
Before I actually call them to say, okay, I'll reserve my booking and I'll also pay a deposit. Because also when you plan something like 2 weeks in advance, in the moment
Stuff
you're
happens.
excited and then the day
Yes.
comes and like all of a sudden things change. And I don't like to lose money, John. That's one thing about me. I don't enjoy losing money. So that's why I
Who
always...
does?
Exactly. So that's why I always do the 2 days before just to confirm it with a deposit.
Yeah, okay. So that's a good way to do it. It sounds like you're very well organized. I go to restaurants so seldom. I like to think I always remember to give a call and say, hey, look, I'm not going to be able to make it, but it's possible that I've forgotten. Restaurant owners, please do give us a call. If you work in restaurants, you don't have to be the owner. You may have a take on that, because that, I would think, puts pressure on you after all. If you're not seeing people seated at tables, you must have concerns about how things are going to go for you. How about you, Karabo Chale? If a restaurant said, listen, I want a deposit, would you say thanks, no thanks?
No, definitely.
Or do you get it?
Definitely, I would pay a deposit, and if I owned a restaurant, I would insist on my customers paying the deposit, because having worked as a waiter, I know how it feels expecting a party of 5 or 10 to pitch, and then you as a waiter, you're banking on that money and that commission. And then at the end of the day, that table is vacant half of the night and you're not making money. It could have been making money because other people were coming in, and it's totally unfair, and it's not right on the waiters. So they must consider that before they have a no-show, because it hurts the poorest of the poor, if I could put it that way.
Okay, thank you, Karabo Chale. His thoughts. Tolakele has told us what she thinks. What do you think? 072 702 1702. It's 12 minutes to 5.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Let's focus our attention now on the town of Knysna. Yesterday was 10 days to day zero. I don't know if there's been rain. I believe there was light rain in other parts of other areas close by in the Southern Cape. I'm not sure that's going to make a big difference. So 9 days. The situation is absolutely dire. Now, yesterday we spoke to the mayor of Knysna, Thando Matiko, who had quite a high level of candor, really, about what's gone wrong, what should have been done, what wasn't done. Seemed to be willing to take responsibility for that. But that doesn't solve the problem, a problem that has been many, many years in the making. You don't discover that you have problems with leaks all of a sudden you don't discover that you need dams and better pumps to move water around. All of a sudden, the problems have been there for a while. So somebody who's in a position to give us a long-range view of all of this is my next guest. Anton Bredell is the Western Cape Minister for Local Government, Environmental Affairs and Development, a position he has held, I believe, since 2009. Minister, welcome and thanks very much for giving us your time.
Only a pleasure, and thank you to the listeners.
So I'm looking, Minister, at Knysna's Water Services Development Plan from 2013. 13 years ago, the development plan was saying things like the water demand for the area is expected to rise steadily during the years to come. By 2030, the demand is expected to have increased to 20 ml per day, megalitres, I assume, from the existing 11. So expecting that to double. The municipalities already experienced problems in meeting the water demand as a result of a number of dry years. There's a need to augment the water supply, provide more storage capacity to ensure continuity of supply. And on it goes, listing things that needed to be done and that clearly weren't. Why not? Do you have a sense of why an obviously looming disaster was not dealt with, even though it was identified 13 years ago?
Well, yeah, it's an interesting one. I can take it further back. When I was a mayor in Swartland, we came to Knysna to learn, because they had the Knysna 2015 plan and it was a fantastic town. So, John, to be quite honest with you, it's a leadership and a management problem we're dealing with, more than a water problem. When you enter the space of a drought, normally my experience is that it just lifts out your failures within management. And I put it to them in December. Listen, 8 months ago, I put it to Cabinet that we must put Knysna under administration, bring a team in of experts to support and to solve these problems within the municipality. I was laughed at, and the people told me it's politics. I said to them, if you open your tap and there's no water, it's not politics, it's a management issue. But when the mayor called me end of November and said to me, Anton, we're heading towards a crisis, I said to him, okay, we need to save the town. So we've worked right through December. The low-hanging fruit was, or the first step was to get the town through this festive season, because you said with tourism and. Now we need to start a program to rebuild the infrastructure. I've just met with the mayor and his team again. We had every second day meetings during the festive season to just try and protect the system. It's a complete neglect of infrastructure maintenance, building new infrastructure, capacity within the municipality, etc. So there's a long, and we can point fingers. Where I said now, we need to save this town and then start to rebuild. I've got now two engineers that basically live here in Knysna.
So, I mean, if you look at the leadership, because you're highlighting that as a problem, Minister, one of the things that Knysna has had is, in many periods, a great instability of leadership. But the one period is the period I was referring to in that report I was quoting from, a more than 5-year period when Knysna had a DA mayor in the person of Jolene Volmerans, May 2011 to August 2016. Surely that was a major opportunity where you had a DA administration in the province. You had an experienced already minister in yourself. You had a DA mayor. That was an opportunity to really turn this thing around. It would appear, even though the report, for example, referred to construction of additional storage dams, pump stations will be required to maintain an adequate supply of water. It would seem clearly the opportunity was never taken. Why not?
Listen, all political parties need to take some blame at some stage. There's much broader problems than just water. I mean, they've got a waste problem, they've got a sewage problem, etc. And the political parties, I certainly, if you go and talk to Jolene Volmerans, she will tell you this was the plan and they wanted to implement X, Y, and Z, and you're always constrained with budget, etc. The problem is we need to rethink. And where I sit now, I can just see what coalition politics is doing. I'm very worried about the next election. Coalition politics, where one person can swing a council. Just shift your whole budget from maintenance to personal agendas, etc. And we're in for a difficult period if we're going to have more coalitions. That's my personal opinion. where we stand currently, just to tell you that we're now at 12 days buffer capacity within the Akkerkloof Dam. And the team of engineers, they're busy capacitating the boreholes, they're busy putting in new pumps, etc. So hopefully with water reductions, people working with us, we will pull through. But as I say, that we also prepare for day zero. What if we run out of water? So that's all the things that we need to do and keep on investing.
But I do want to come back to, yes, all parties are to some degree to blame. But I do want to come back to that period in when there was real stability, but also real synchronicity, because you had provincial government and local government with the same party. In lockstep, surely able to solve the problem. In that period, did you make any applications to national government for special funding to deal with the kind of infrastructure problems that were already evident? And if you did put the plans forward, perhaps you could just describe them briefly and tell us how they were received.
Well, in that period, they've built a sewage plant. Remember, and you must go years back now, the old sewage was ponds. You had this pond and it will take the first runoff of sewage and it will settle and it will go into a next pond and then we go into the more professional era where you had to build sewage plants under that leadership, Jeline Wolbrands, and we've done applications for the sewage plant. It's a beautiful sewage plant. The problem with the sewage plant, it wasn't maintained. These things needs to be maintained. They've built the Chanceville pump station, and if people then don't maintain it, you sit with and they replace a 12-inch design with a 10-inch pump, you're going to end up where we sit today. There's a couple of things where they've started to invest. And I can put it to you, when we came to NICE, I said to the mayor, you asked for 20 million rand, but you gave back 19 million rand to national government, not spending your MIC funding. So again, this is a current leadership problem, a management problem, and we need to solve that.
What do you think you as provincial government have learned? Because in your portfolio, you've on a number of occasions spoken about, for example, the unqualified audits that municipalities in the Western Cape run by the DA have achieved. But it does suggest that keeping your finances tight is one thing, but deploying your finances in a focus, because Knysna's audit record has generally been quite good. It just seems that raising money and actually spending it in a focused way has been a weakness for some time now. Would you agree with that?
No, John, I'm a big fan and a big believer in you must have clean audits. I mean, we cannot, and there's a lot of people in politics say you cannot eat a clean audit. Well, you also cannot eat corruption. So to manage your finances within the financial frameworks, etc., it's crucial, and we need to do that. And if you've done that, then you can start to build your municipality. The problem is that a lot of municipalities neglect when they discuss their budget processes and they don't look at population growth, the pressure that population growth put onto your municipality, and they don't spend 8% of their budget on maintenance. So they focus very much on building new things and trying to leave a legacy. Yes. And that's your problem, because you must maintain what you've got. You need to get to a system where you spend 8% of your budget on maintenance and then build new capacity. You need to spend the money that national government is through the MIC kind of grant. That's a municipal infrastructure grant that they support municipalities, especially to see to it that we've got a fair distribution so that the poorest of the poor can have also a dignified life and can have services. But if municipalities don't spend that money and give it back, then you start with you're falling behind. And that's where we are with NISNA. They fall behind, and now we need to start to rebuild. And today I said to them in the meeting that we need to realize it seems like we're going to pull through with all that we put in place, but we need now to start to rebuild this whole system, because the pumps is old, they neglected, the pipes are old, so we need to start to refurbish and if you look at the terrain that we need to work in, we talk about just for water, quick sum, 127 million rand.
So, Minister, just to end off, one of our listeners, Nicole, says, surely your guest needs to take some responsibility for the water issues in Knysna. Do you?
Well, we try to save Knysna. We've got what people also...
Just with respect, Minister, the question is very specific. She says you need to take some responsibility, do you? For the situation, for the dilemma. Do you look back on it and say there were things I in my position or my team could have done and we didn't?
No, because we've got this 15-year water plan. But we cannot implement it because people must also understand the government system. You sit with a local government. Water is their core function, water, electricity, sanitation, etc. Province can oversee and can support them, and that's what we do. We put engineers here, we come and support. But if people don't want your support, and that's why I've decided a year ago to start with the 139 intervention process. It's a lengthy process, it's a legal process, a difficult process, to say, listen, I don't make inroads, I must intervene now and get a team even from national to support us.
Thank you very much. Western Cape Minister for Local Government, Environmental Affairs and Development, Anton Bredel. Yeah, the stuff unfolds slowly, and boy, then does it pick up speed. 702 Drive.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Grief for the families who lost their children in this horrific Scholar transport crash in Vanderbijl Park. Families all around South Africa don't have a choice in who transports their kids to and from school. They just have to pay and hope that their kids get to school safely. There's a bigger question here to be asked. Are we a country that no longer abides by the law? Is that who we are?
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Mzansi Powerball has skyrocketed to an epic 177 million rand estimated jackpot this Tuesday, the second highest ever recorded jackpot in Ituba's history. Play now and you could win big, just like Friday's Powerball Plus winner who bagged over 33 million rand via the National Lottery platform. Buy your tickets now, in store, on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
To live wealthier, you need to be able to grow your assets. At Standard Bank Private, you get a team of internationally acclaimed financial experts to advise you on local and global investment strategies. Plus, being with a leader in home loans, you can start expanding your property portfolio. So, come live wealthier with Africa's best private bank. Apply online at standardbank.co.za. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
The Dis-Chem Better Rewards program is here, and every time you shop and save, you're also giving back. Each time you swipe, not only are you rewarded, but a percentage of your purchase is donated to the Dis-Chem Foundation to support communities in need. So why wait? Sign up to become a Better Rewards member today and support with every swipe. Dis-Chem Foundation, caring for the community.
You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
This is EWN.
Families of Vanderbijl Park tragedy call for an end of Scholar transport, and Mozambican authorities working to fill the gaps in missing case of a Kuruleni official. Good afternoon, I'm Maki Malapo. The families of 12 learners killed in a tragic crash in Vanderbijl Park are now calling for the abolition of Scholar transport vehicles. Earlier today, police confirmed they arrested the driver of the minibus taxi that was carrying the children after he was discharged from hospital with minor injuries. Preliminary investigations suggest the 22-year-old attempted to illegally overtake other vehicles before colliding with a truck, instantly killing 12 children. 5 others were taken to hospital, with one discharged earlier earlier today. Mungezi Koko has more.
Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwachube, alongside Gauteng Education MEC Matume Chilwane, visited the homes of some of the victims, offering condolences and committing to reforms around scholar transport safety. While the visits were welcomed by some, they were also met with anger and frustration as grieving parents question whether enough is being done to prevent such tragedies.
Hence I'm saying, because of that, they are not showing any remorse. They should be abolished. They should be abolished. If I was the minister, I would say we don't need that transport anymore.
The minister and MEC, joined by Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi, later briefed the media outlining proposed measures and regulatory changes aimed at curbing scholar transport crashes. Mungezi Koko, Eyewitness News, Sebokeng.
Meanwhile, Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwachube and Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi have announced plans to regulate the system. The two leaders briefed the media in Sebokeng, the south of Joburg, this afternoon.
We've taken a decision that the MEC responsible for education and the MEC responsible for transport must find a mechanism to bring this private scholar transport within the framework of our public transport. And there must be a mechanism not only to identify them, but to find a way of ensuring that we can account for their behavior and conduct.
Mpumalanga police are investigating the circumstances behind a double murder near Lily Mine in Lowe's Creek. Earlier today, police were alerted about the discovery of two bodies. The pair, identified as Swati nationals, were covered with blankets when emergency service personnel found them. One of the relatives of the deceased has identified his brother. Mpumalanga police spokesperson Jabun Dubani.
Police are still attempting to locate the family of the second deceased man. Members of the public who may have information about this matter or who may know the relative of the unidentified deceased are urged to contact the Crime Stop number, or information can be submitted via My SAPS app. All information received will be treated with the strictest confidentiality, and callers may choose to remain anonymous.
Frustrated residents from Sporong informal settlement in the east of Johannesburg claim they have been forced to abandon their homes and livelihoods because police have done nothing to protect them from dangerous zamazamas. At least 600 residents have taken refuge at the Randgate Community Hall in Rand West. Some accompanied EWN back to their homes they've now abandoned. Tabiso Goba has the story.
Like most informal settlements, Sporong is made up of largely corrugated iron houses built close to each other. On a regular afternoon, the area would be filled with the sounds of children playing and loud music. However, today there's silence. A few residents have stayed behind, but most of the houses remain abandoned, including that of A.D. Saudi.
I prefer mostly to stay with my family here, but there was nothing that I can do because I won't be able to leave everything the way it is. Due to these people of Zamazamas, they've insisted us we must vacate the place. That's what we have done.
As a result of the mass exodus, all trading in Sporong has effectively stopped, with most of the spaza shops now closed. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News, Sporong.
Joburg Mayor Dada Morero is in the firing line once again after the UDM and Al Jamaah parties submitted a motion of no confidence against him. This marks the second time these parties have sought to remove Morero from the city's top office. Their first motion was introduced last month but was withdrawn just before it was scheduled for a vote in the city council. The parties accuse Morero of neglecting his duties and failing to consult coalition partners on key decisions. Alpha Ramushana has the details.
The ANC's Dada Morero has served as the mayor of Johannesburg for 16 months, but he's already faced two motions of no confidence. The third motion is likely to be heard at the next council meeting. The first, which was brought by the DA, was unsuccessful, while the second, which was sponsored by Al Jamaah, was withdrawn. Morero, however, says he does not expect the latest motion to succeed.
They've brought the motion once again, and the motion will then be tabled. I hope this time around it will not be withdrawn so that it can be debated and they can demonstrate what are the issues that they are raising, which suggest that the service delivery failures.
The City of Johannesburg's Programming Committee has yet to confirm when the motion will be heard. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And Mozambican authorities are working with a flood survivor to establish further details relating to missing Ekurhuleni official Andile Mgwevu. The search for Mgwevu, the current MMC for Roads and Transport in Ekurhuleni, is edging towards a fifth day. Mgwevu was on a personal trip in Mozambique with friends when the vehicle they were travelling in was allegedly caught in dangerous floodwaters in the Chokwe region in the southern parts of the country. Earlier today, Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi visited Mgwevu's family in Springs on the East Rand, where he confirmed one person is believed to have survived.
What we know is that there were 5 passengers in the car, and unfortunately they were confronted by these floods. And on the basis of this information, we activated our diplomatic links, and they worked. And the last information that was provided us, indeed, there was somebody that they believe is a survivor that they're communicating with.
Lesufi says Mozambican officials, together with the assistance of the SANDF search and rescue personnel, have questioned the survivor.
Getting the relevant information so that they can know where to search and what to search for. So until the team that is there now looking for this give us an updated information, we'll not be in a position to give you something that will align to your questions.
Gold's trading at $4,743.91 an ounce. The rand's at 16.41 to the dollar, at 22.08 to the pound, at 19.23 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $64.83 a barrel.
In Easterist, Pretoria West expects some delays heading towards Mamelodi. This is on Stormful Road between the N1 and Petroleum Street. In Germiston, there's slow-moving traffic. N17 eastbound, that's heading towards Brakpan between Osborne and Rondebold. And finally, if you're driving through the Joburg CBD, expect about a 20-minute delay. M1 south between Killarney Bends and the Crown Interchange.
In your sport, Gavin Hunt looking to start his Stellenbosch tenure off on a winning note. Arsenal determined to make it 7 games unbeaten in Europe as they take on Inter in the UEFA Champions League. And life-size Seve Ballesteros statue goes missing.
A look at your weather. It's said to be partly cloudy skies in Gauteng tomorrow with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. Joburg will drop to overnight lows of 14 degrees and peak at highs of 25. Pretoria and Vereeniging are both at 15 and 26 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The families of 12 learners killed in a tragic crash in Vanderbijl Park are now calling for the abolition of scholar transport vehicles.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
on 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
11 minutes past 5 on 702 Drive. Great to have you with us. Thanks for your time. We enjoy very much the pleasure of your company. Some of you have been sending us WhatsApp voice notes, and I've been urging you to do so. And you may be wondering, well, I send this stuff, you don't play it. Please, we're just having a technical difficulty today. Do not be discouraged. We always look to play your voice notes, as many of them as we can, but the tech is not our friend at the moment. We'll let you know as soon as it is sorted out, but I would say don't send any more because I don't want to add to the list of people's frustrations. Coming up on the show in a moment, shortly, we're going to be talking to my EWN colleague Thabiso Gobe. It is a truly extraordinary situation where 600 people from an informal settlement have decided they now have to leave because of the living hell that they have had to put up with, and can no longer do so as a result of the actions and the brazen behavior of illegal miners, zama-zamas, in the community where they live. This is in the southwest of Gauteng, I believe. More on that story with Thabiso in a moment. And then back to that tragedy in Vanderbijl Park. We understand that the driver, and questions of being raised about whether he was licensed to drive the vehicle at all, will be facing charges of culpable homicide. That it may be a straightforward matter in court, but I thought I'd like to understand it better because it's not an obvious charge to lay to my mind, although I know it's happened before. How do the courts deal with it? What are they looking for? Culpable homicide, its definitions, the way traffic-related cases make their way through the courts. We'll talk about that a little bit later with legal expert Ntabiseng Dubazana. Looking forward to that. It's 13 minutes past 5.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS the word out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Karabo Chali is your guide. If you are in Pretoria, there are problems in some places. Tell us exactly where.
Let me start in Hermanstad. If you are leaving the Pretoria CBD, there's bumper traffic on Eskiam Patlele between Boom Street and the R80 and Easterest. West of Pretoria, expect some delays heading towards Mamelodi on Stormful Road between the N1 and Petroleum Street. In Irene, traffic remains sluggish on Main Road. This is between the N1 and Nalmepius Drive. While in Germiston, traffic pressure heading towards Boksburg, Brakpan, N17 eastbound between Osborne and Rondebold. Leaving Marlborough, heading towards Bedford View, there's about a 20-minute delay. M3 southbound, this is from the Between interchange to Van Buren. Poles off, also slow-moving traffic on Witkoppen Road between Main Road and Stonehaven. Finally, if you're driving through the Joburg CBD, heading towards Boysons, expect about a 20-minute delay on the M1 southbound between Killarney Benz and the Crown interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance pointsmen can't help you get back in the swing of things, but they can ease the traffic congestion so you can get to the office in time for a good start. With the Outsurance pointsmen on the roads for the past 20 years, we can all get where we need to be quickly and safely. Outsurance really means it when they say you always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using hashtag PointsmenLove, licensed insurer and FSP.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
The DA elective conference, do you still think you've got it in you to still hold any leadership position?
I would have, but I don't want one.
You don't want one?
No, I've done what I've had to do.
Yeah.
And I feel that my job is now to try and help fix local government, because South Africa can't succeed unless our metros are functional.
So if you don't succeed in Johannesburg, is that you bowing out, or you'll join the city council in the opposition benches?
Well, it depends. I mean, obviously we're in it to win it. We don't go in to lose.
Like any other party.
Yeah, and we'll put our massive effort in to win it. If that doesn't work, if the voters of Johannesburg decide they want more of the same that they've currently got, well, then the voters get the government they voted for, which is very sad.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Getting ready for university, let South African Airways take the pressure out of your travel. Enjoy all-inclusive one-way fares from Johannesburg to Durban from 690 Rand, from Johannesburg to Gqeberha from 655, and from Johannesburg to Cape Town from 1,144. Plus, pack more of what you need with 2 check bags instead of 1. On sale until 12 Feb. Travel by 12 Feb 2026. Book now at flysaa.com. T's and C's apply.
Team, summer is game time in Mzansi. Every tap, scan, swipe, it all adds up. And FNB is giving us big rewards, partner deals, e-bucks, defense tips, and chances to score experiences money can't buy. But you're only in the game if you paid with FNB. So stay sharp, spend clever, and let's dominate. Get in the game with FNB. Help changes everything. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and credit provider. NCRCP 20. T's and C's earn rules and limits apply.
Running a business can feel like a solo mission. I mean, you've got the hustle. If only your office Wi-Fi was your employee of the month. Turn on your success with Telkom Business, the partner that always shows up. Get a reliable 25 by 25 megabytes per second connection with Stream Connect Fiber for only 489 Rands per month.
This summer, your business deserves the best. Visit telkom.co.za/business for deals that connect your business. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Well, it's sad to say, but it is true that here on 702 and indeed on other media platforms, we deal with so many stories of people going through awful times. I was really struck by a piece by my colleague Tabiso Goba from EWN, who was talking about 600 people living in an informal settlement in the Randwest City local municipality around the area that I think of as Western area. I think their informal settlement was called Sporong, presumably because they were close to the railway tracks in that area. Life has been made absolutely unlivable because of illegal miners driving them out of their homes, stealing from them, and turning their lives into misery to the point where they simply have moved away. It's an appalling situation, and Tabiso Gobe is with me now. And Tabiso, first question, I'm sure you asked this of many people. They said to you, I assume, we spoke to the police, they did nothing. I mean, maybe say a little bit more about that. Did they do that as individuals? Did they lay charges? Did they try and bring politicians or local government to their aid? It sounds desperate, but I'm wondering if they got any help at all.
Good afternoon, John. Well, as you said, John, Sporong is next to a railroad track, but it's also next to a decommissioned mine.
Right.
So this is a community, John, that for a very long time, it has sort of lived alongside illegal miners. It's an informal settlement, so they do understand that obviously where they live in, they shouldn't be living there. So there's always been this sort of acceptance that, illegal miners will come here. But they say that what has changed over the last couple of years is that illegal miners have now started to attack them instead of just obviously going for those gold-bearing material, whatever minerals they could find. And they've started attacking them, they've started robbing them, they've started assaulting them and all kinds of other things. And these issues have obviously been raised to the ward councillor,
Yes.
They've been raised to the police, those ladies who have been unfortunately assaulted by these zamazamas. They've also they showed us the case numbers that they've raised with the police. But in terms of the government, John, the reason that they're actually there at the Randgate Community Hall, that they've been moved, is because of the ward councillor and the local government, because they've been raising these issues. And it did come to a point where the ward councillor said, okay, we're just going to move you here and until we find a more permanent solution for you. So now about 500, 600 people are currently living there at the Randgate Community Hall.
I mean, if you think about what you've just said, Tabiso, I'd like your view based on the conversations you've had. You could say that's the solution, we're going to find you somewhere else. But if you look at the larger issues for us as a country, what they are in effect saying, and I'm not criticizing the ward councillor because they're trying to do the best by the people that they represent. But the larger implication is that a group of criminals can take over a neighborhood and drive out the people who live there. Now, some people may say, well, it's an informal settlement. Why wouldn't that happen to a township or a suburb if indeed this is the way the government is going to view this? I mean, surely the priority has to be to say, we take this area back, we secure the area, and the people who were there before continue to live there. It's beyond belief in my view.
Well, I think that there's another element to this conversation, John, and in that area that Sporong is currently based at, there's a new housing development that just got finished. And in researching the story and speaking to other people, there was some suggestions that were made to me in terms of that the people are sort of making an angle for these new housing developments.
Right.
But I'll say that it's a bit unlikely, John, for a number of reasons. I went to Sporong and we uploaded the videos of Sporong on AWN on the Twitter page. And the people there, even though it's an informal settlement, it's not sort of like Alex where people live on top of each other.
Yes.
It's very decent corrugated iron houses. People have a bit of space. They have, nice 2 rooms. They have a bit of dignity in terms of, even though they're living in an informal settlement, there is a bit of dignity. But also too, John, is that I find it a bit unlikely that people, because even in the videos that we uploaded, there's children there and in that hall, and you could see it's an entire setup. There's a lot of stuff that people have brought from there, and it's a bit unlikely that anyone would sort of uproot their entire family, their children, to live in a community hall. I've unfortunately or fortunately, I've covered a lot of these natural disasters in KZN, but also here in Gauteng, where after there's a flood, people move into these community halls. And I can tell you, it's not very good. There's no privacy. A lot of things go on. There's not an ideal place to actually live like. So it's a bit unlikely that these people are actually making an angle for these new housing developments. And unfortunately, John, where Sporong, the informal settlement, is established. It's near a decommissioned mine. So the community has sort of resigned itself that as long as we are here, as long as we are near a decommissioned mine, as long as there's minerals in the ground or people believe there are minerals in the ground, we are going to have these zamazamas and it's never going to stop. And it's not, as we know, John, it's not just Sporong, it's all over Gauteng, Boksburg, here in Johannesburg, but all over where if there are these decommissioned mines, those communities that live near these mines are troubled by zamazamas.
Yeah, it's a heartbreaking story, but thank you, Thabiso Gorba, keeping an eye on that. We'll hear from him again. 23 minutes past 5.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
I want to return now to get a better understanding of one element from that Vanderbijl Park crash. We understand that the driver, a 22-year-old man of the vehicle in which the children were being transported, is going to be charged with culpable homicide. I wanted to better understand how a culpable homicide charge is framed in regard to a traffic accident of this nature. And for that, we welcome to 702 Drive Ntabiseng Dubazana, who is Director of Dubazana Attorneys. Ms. Dubazana, welcome and thanks very much for your time. Compliments of the new year to you. Is this a well-worn legal path that people who cause accidents through their negligence, through their conduct, can face this charge?
Good afternoon, John, and thank you so much for having me, and compliments of the new year. Yes, indeed, that is the route that we would go. So what would usually happen is that if the state is not particularly sure whom to blame for the particular accident, the docket, before it becomes either a murder or a culpable homicide docket, it would be what we call an inquiry docket.
Right.
So we have to first inquire, find out what happened, interview witnesses, all of these things. And then once we have an idea of who the blame should be on, then it sits in front of the magistrate in a more or less of an informal setting, not a situation where it will be official, a charge is being put before the accused. And then the magistrate hears all this with evidence and then decides, okay, based on this evidence, I can believe that Ntabiseng is the one to blame for this.
Right.
Now you can proceed and change the inquest docket from inquest to culp. So now with culp, it means that the state has to prove negligence on the part of the accused. So there's no intention, because there's no way we can prove that Ntabiseng had the intention to kill so-and-so by virtue of this accident happening. But we need to determine if Ntabiseng had some sort of negligence on her part. And the state only needs to prove only 1% of negligence. And if they can do that, then they have a strong case against Ntabiseng.
Is an element of that, Ms. Dubazana, that you would have to show that the person must have known that the outcome of their actions could potentially have been fatal?
Yes, so that's what we call dolus eventualis. So
Okay.
you have the foreseeability. You could see that the outcome of your actions could possibly lead to this, in spite of you not having the intention to kill, but you knew that if you were to do this particular act in this situation, you were to drive either under the influence of alcohol or drive a vehicle that is not roadworthy, etc., etc. If you were to do all these things, it may possibly lead to the element that we are now charging you with today. So that is what the state would have to prove. But most of the time when it comes to culpable homicide, we rarely go through the emotions of going through trial and then leading evidence and all of that. Usually, the accused and the state enter into what we call a plea agreement in terms of Section 105, capital letter A of the Criminal Procedure Act, wherein the accused takes responsibility for their actions, and then a sentence is agreed upon between the parties. And if the accused is in a position to, for example, assist with funerals and, or to assist the aggrieved family, the sentence usually turns out to be quite light and not as bad as, for example, the Jub case where he ended up spending 10 years in prison.
So, I mean, if we could finally and briefly just canvass what the sentencing range is, and if somebody is sentenced, how much time do people generally serve? What do you think the driver might be looking at here?
The driver can go anywhere from a suspended sentence, which means no jail time at all, to about 15 years imprisonment. So the elements that lead up to what happened, so the circumstantial evidence, the roadworthiness of the car, his negligence contribution, if it grows more than the 1% that the state can prove, and we're sitting at like 40%, then his sentence can be as high as up to 15 years imprisonment because he was negligent and still continued in doing what he was doing, knowing what the outcome could possibly lead to.
And finally, and just on the basis of purely on the facts, I mean, if it's established that he was driving a vehicle that belonged to someone else who knowingly put him behind the wheel of a vehicle that was not roadworthy in the full knowledge that he was not licensed to do so, presumably that person could be added to the charge sheet?
Very likely. It was very likely that the state may add, and then they may add him or her as an accomplice to the crime because you know what your car is like, and then you put this person in this position to drive, and they also knew what the car is like, and no one did anything to try and prevent any harm coming to these children.
Thank you so much. And Thabiseng Dubazana framing for us just clearly in terms of the facts and possibilities should this matter is probably going to come to court tomorrow, Thursday at the latest. She is Director of Dubazana Attorneys, 702 Drive.
EWN Business.
At 29 minutes past 5, we welcome Stephen Curtis once again.
Good afternoon, John. Well, gold still creeping up. U.S. markets sharply down as they've opened just on an hour ago now. And the JSE All Share ending the day at 0.35%, 120,534 points. Financials up 0.08. Industrials down 1.15, but resources up so strongly, 2.2%. Platinum also doing quite nicely, John, at the moment. Anglo Gold ending up 6%. Gold Fields up over 3.5%. Pan African up 3.5% as well. Sasol recovering after yesterday's losses. They're up 3%. Life Healthcare up 3% too, despite the fact that it's clear there's no truce in sight over the NHI. We'll talk about that more on the Money Show tonight. The Board of Healthcare funders saying they're not open to a truce as proposed by the Finance Minister last week. We'll ask them why. And We Buy Cars is up 2.22%. By the way, interestingly, also up slightly today is Motus, despite what seems to be a dispute with some of the people who work for it. Alpha Min are down 6.42%. Tungela down 4% as well on the day. And British American Tobacco down 3.44%. News 24 reporting that 2 more senior executives are leaving Standard Bank. Would you like to know where they're going? I'll give you a hint. They're going to the place where the former, where the new ABSA CEO comes from. They're going to ABSA.
Ah, okay.
Following Kenny Fichler from Standard to ABSA. Clive Potter, the head of client coverage in South Africa. Francisco Khoza, the head of legal at Standard Bank, both moving to ABSA. Marafe Resources also confirming their ferrochrome production with Glencore down 63%. They suspended production at their smelter, but their platinum production was up by 5% in the year to the end of last year. John, in the US, sharply down. Bear in mind, public holiday while markets closed yesterday. As a result, this is the first time traders there are responding to the Greenland story. The Dow Jones is down 1.36, NASDAQ down 1.57, the S&P 500 down 1.36 as well, and that suggests markets are not pleased. Very worried, of course, about tariffs. And a reminder that shares on the NASDAQ, tech companies tend to be more exposed to interruptions to their supply chains. The gold price edging up, $4,744.04 an ounce. Could be $5,000 by the end of the month. Platinum, $2,456.40. Brent crude also up $64.86. And then the rand to the dollar, 19.40 to the euro, to the dollar 16.40, to the euro 19.23, to the British pound 22.07. On the Money Show tonight, more on the NHI. As I said, the IMF's latest forecast, slightly more optimistic for South Africa, I should say. We'll find out a little bit more about the Motus story. And then also, I found this interesting, social media influencers who promote items they know to be fake.
Yes.
SARS is coming for you.
Okay.
I mean, I don't always want SARS to go after people, but in their case, what can I do to help? Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. Maki Mulapo is with us now, ready to update us on the latest news. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says the driver of the fatal Scholar Transport crash at Vanderbijl Park was illegally operating the vehicle when tragedy struck. 12 children died yesterday following an accident involving the minibus taxi they were travelling in and a side tipper truck on Fred Roster Road near the N1. The driver has since been arrested and is set to appear in court this week, facing 12 counts of culpable homicide. Lesufi briefed the media in Sebokeng this afternoon.
We have now established that the PDP, which is the Public Driver's Certificate, has expired last year in November, and therefore he was driving without the necessary permits.
He says as of this afternoon, the victims' families have all come forward to positively identify their loved ones.
With the work of the law enforcement agencies, in particular the SAPS and the Department of Health, can now confirm that 12 children passed on. Of all those children, 11 were identified. When we were preparing for this briefing, the last family came forward, and all the children have now been duly identified.
We move to the Western Cape, where structures and vegetation are on fire in Masiphumelele, where firefighters are battling a raging blaze. City and Fire Rescue Services spokesperson Jermaine Carrollser says firefighters were alerted to the fire just after 3 p.m. this afternoon. Carrollser says prevailing weather conditions are proving challenging for ground crews.
This is a developing situation, but indications are that both structures and ridge are alight. The incident commander has activated aerial support, so 2 helicopters are airborne. The focus right now is on firefighting efforts. Updates will follow once the scale and impact of this fire has been determined.
Meanwhile, in Franschhoek, despite fire crews working overnight to contain flames in the area, there's still serious concern as conditions remain challenging for firefighters battling fire lines in the area. Strong winds are fanning the flames and increasing the risk of flare-ups. The Cape Islands District Municipality's Joanne Otto says the wind is also preventing the deployment of aerial resources.
Teams will continue with active firefighting and property protection throughout the night. Furthermore, the Cape Islands Fire Services and partners responded to fires in the Idas Valley and Peniel areas earlier this afternoon. Resources were deployed and both fires were rapidly contained.
At the same time, reports from the Helderberg indicate the Winelands Fire Protection Association is dealing with an active fire causing plumes of smoke in Somerset West. Ground teams and aerial support are actively trying to contain the blaze, but strong winds are making the situation difficult. However, Somerset West residents are still safe and not in any danger. The City of Ekurhulene's failed plan to expropriate private land without compensation remains in question legally, even though the Metro reneged on their decision. The city sought to seize a 34-hectare property in Boksburg in a case that has been tied up in court for years. The expropriation has now been scrapped after an environmental assessment found the land unsuitable for human settlement. The move would have marked South Africa's first case of land expropriation without compensation, fueling an already heated national debate over property rights. Alpha Ramushana has more.
At the heart of this dispute was the question of whether South Africa currently has a law that explicitly permits land expropriation without compensation. The controversial Expropriation Act of 2024, which allows for zero compensation under certain conditions, has been passed but is not yet in force. A property law lecturer at Stellenbosch University, Tenfier Jiwa, believes that the city of Ekurhuleni misinterpreted the law in claiming that its offer of no compensation was justified.
There is no justification of how they get to nil compensation or even what exactly allows them to have nil compensation.
While the city has now reversed the expropriation, questions remain over the legality of its actions. She argues that the city had no constitutional basis to seize the land without just and equitable compensation. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And a Belgian court is expected to hold a hearing on whether a former senior diplomat should go on trial over the 1961 killing of Congolese leader Patrice Lumumba. His family has been pushing for the past 15 years for what they say is the long overdue legal reckoning over the complicity of Belgian officials in his murder. He was shot and killed in 1961 at just 35 years old, and his body was dissolved in acid. Belgium officially returned his one tooth, which was kept as a trophy in 2022. His family says the move is not about revenge, but about a quest for the truth of what happened to their relative. A look at your weather. A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected tomorrow. Temperatures will drop to overnight lows of 14 and 15 degrees and peak at highs of 25 and 26 degrees.
Accident scene in Centurion N1 northbound before the R21 flying saucer interchange causing huge delays all the way from the N14 Brakfontein interchange and in Boksburg. There's bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is on the N12 eastbound between Atlas Road and Banyan due to a stationary vehicle.
The top story in Eyewitness News. Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says the driver of the fatal Scholar Transport crash in Vanderbijl Park was illegally operating the vehicle when tragedy struck.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
We want to call the community, we want to call the parents that they must not allow their children to go into those cars that are not roadworthy. They must make sure that they must go out. And I think the question will be, how will the parents know that this car is not roadworthy? We want parents, we want community to call upon the authorities.
Matakanya is the General Secretary of the National Association of School Governing Bodies, reflecting, of course, tragic stories involving deaths.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Mzansi, Powerball has skyrocketed to an epic 177 million rand estimated jackpot this Tuesday, the second highest ever recorded jackpot in Ituba's history. Play now and you could win big, just like Friday's Powerball Plus winner who bagged over 33 million rand via the National Lottery platform. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or dial star 120 star 7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Hi, I'm in grade 6 at Crawford International, and I'm already building my future. At Crawford, we don't just learn, we prepare for the world ahead. By grade 10, I can choose from a range of subjects in any combination. With experienced teachers, amazing extracurriculars, and AI-driven support, I'm set up to excel in everything, from maths to public speaking. Book your personalized tour. Crawford International, building global leaders.
Let's hear from Al, owner of Johnson's Cable, why it pays to switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance.
I thought it was going to be difficult to switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance. Switching was so quick and easy. I'm happy with the premium that I'm paying now.
For electrical, tradesman services, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online. 702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
702 Drive, still to come on the show, some music. We're going to ask you a very interesting and intriguing question. You might need to Google a little bit, but some of you who are keen, I wouldn't say students of music, but who do more than just listen, but do a little bit of digging and finding out about, for instance, who writes songs. You're going to enjoy this. But first, let's get the latest sport.
EWN Sport.
Torakele Premiership football tonight, Champions League football tonight, and a missing statue. I'm sure you'll save that for the end, but I'm looking forward to hearing that one.
Thanks so much, John. And Kaizer Chiefs and Lamanville Golden Arrows will meet for the 50th time in the PSL. That's when they clash in the Betway Premiership tonight. Amakosi are unbeaten in 7 league games and having recorded 9 clean sheets. Cedric Kaze, however, is not getting ahead of himself as Abafana Best Tende have in their ranks the league's top scorer in Junior De Jong with 7 goals.
It's a brave team. Players, they know that it's not going to be an easy game. We need to run. We need to compete. We need to get into those duels. We need as well to be smart. We need as well to be smart because when you play against a team like that, sometimes there is 2 ways. Maybe you want to run. You have to run more than them, but sometimes as well you need to slow down. You need to play with your brain. You need to hold the ball longer to make them run first and to try to hurt them.
Gavin Hunt takes charge of Stellenbosch for the first time as they travel to Limpopo for a clash against Kukune United. While they're languishing in 14th place in the league, Stellies are doing well in the CAF Confed Cup, which is providing them reprieve amidst their domestic struggles.
You cannot prioritize things in football. I think it leads to get caught with your pants down. So let's start concentrating on the next game, which is Tuesday. Let's go to the next game after that. If you start thinking, well, CAF is not important, or Nedbank's not important, or this game's not important, and that happens, you see teams change people get rest. I won't rest people, but I think it's important to just calm down and concentrate on the next game.
In the UEFA Champions League, the action continues tonight with 9 games scheduled. Arsenal are up against Inter Milan, and if they win this game, they'll set their longest ever winning streak in European competitions with 7. Mikel Arteta's Gunners have won each of their last 6 by an aggregate score of 17-1, keeping 5 clean sheets.
I don't know, performance and result have an impact emotionally on the team to a level of confidence, and we know that the match tomorrow is to come here and win the game, and that's a step that we didn't do last year, and we have to show that we are better than last year.
Defending champions Yannick Sinner and Madison Keys, along with Belinda Bencic and 2-time champion Naomi Osaka, are just some of the players that have progressed to the next round of the Australian Open following wins today. Aussie Dane Sweeney caused the upset of the day, having defeated Gail Monfils on his final Australian Open appearance.
But no, I knew deep down that I could do this if I kept putting my head down, and I was questioning things a lot back then. But I think it's credit to just persevering, and I was really questioning my game, questioning my identity on the court, questioning whether tennis is something I should be doing. But there was that voice deep down that knew I could do it if I kept going. But this is just the beginning.
And a life-size statue commemorating 5-time major winner Seve Ballesteros has gone missing from his hometown of Pedrina in Spain. Spanish authorities are now investigating after the bronze statue was stolen over the weekend. During his career, Ballesteros helped Europe win 5 Ryder Cups, and he died of brain cancer in 2011 at the age of 54. Tola Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Okay, let's find out what's happening on the roads. EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Karabo Charlie, where are we struggling? Where are we fine?
Well, at this stage, let me start in the city of Tshwane, where there's an accident seen in Centurion on the N1 northbound before the R21 flying saucer interchange, causing huge delays all the way from the N14 Brakfontein interchange. Hermanstad, bumper-to-bumper traffic leaving the Pretoria CBD on Eskiam Pahlele between Boom Street and the R80 in Irene. Also expect some delays. This is on Main Road between the N1 and Nelmapius Drive, Boksburg. There's about a 20-minute delay. That's on the R24 westbound between Croft Road and Bunyan due to a stationary vehicle. Germiston heading towards Boksburg, also traffic pressure N17 East. That's between Osborne and Rondebold. While in Marlborough heading towards Bedfordview, we still have about a 30-minute delay. That's on the N3 southbound from the Butlu interchange to Van Buren. Pulls off slow-moving traffic on Witkoppen Road. That's between Main Road and Stonehaven. And finally, if you're driving through the Joburg CBD, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay. M1 South from Killarney Bends to the Crown interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a family driving to their new home, carrying boxes stacked with plates and toys and memories. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a new beginning, a fresh start on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive. You know, behind every song is a songwriter, stating the blindingly obvious, but in that banal thing I've just said are some very, very interesting stories, because generally one assumes that singers write their own songs or have a crew and everybody kind of works in their silos. But what's really interesting, and I'll introduce you in a moment to the person who has put this in front of us to consider. In the world of music, people who are stars in their own right sometimes end up writing songs not for themselves, but for other people. You know, Peter Mashabane well, and you know very, very well that he knows a lot about music. Peter is helping us with the technical production of the show today, and he threw this idea my way. Peter, good afternoon, welcome. Tell me about this. What made this idea of people who wrote stars, who wrote songs for other stars? What popped that into your head? Good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, John, to you and the listeners. Well, it fascinates me that you can be an artist in your own right and still have the wisdom and ability to say that I've written a great song, but I think it'll sound better if it's sang by somebody else. So this is what inspired the idea behind that.
Okay, so you're going to kick us off. Who have you got? Who wrote the song? What is the song, and who do we know has sung it?
We've got this song. It's Human Nature by Michael Jackson. It was written by Stephen Porcaro. Who is he? He's a member of Toto, the group Toto, who gave you songs like Africa. Yeah. So, and it was an accidental hit because he submitted some music for Thriller to Quincy Jones, and he wrote this song as an idea.
Yes.
And it was not the intended song. It's just that Quincy Jones discovered this song on the side B of the cassette of the demo. And that's how the song happened.
So we talk about a plan B. This is a side B that turned into an A-list hit. Stephen Porcaro from Toto wrote it. Michael Jackson did it. You know it well. Let's take a listen. And while you're listening, maybe think of some of your favorites in this category.
Eyes are everywhere. See that girl, she knows I'm watching. She likes the way I stare. If they say why, tell them that is human nature. Why does he do it that way? If they say why, tell them that is human nature.
Human Nature, Michael Jackson. He didn't write it. It wasn't even the main offering from the man who did Stephen Porcaro from Toto. But boy, did it turn out to be a hit on an album packed full of hits, Thriller. Okay, so give us your thoughts, please. Maybe you've got an idea of what it is that you would like to hear. And a song that was written by someone else. Give us a call on 011 883 0702. We are not getting WhatsApp voice notes, but we are getting text messages. So if you want to send it to us by text, give us a call.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
In terms of prompting, what does that look like? Because I think many of us, when we started with AI, was treating it like a Google search.
So prompt is just a fancy name for the text input that we as humans put into the platform. It's really just a pattern recognition platform. So basically what happens is we put input into that platform, and as a result of our input, the AI platform predicts the most likely and logical text to use to respond to us. So on that basis, you can see that the quality of your prompt directly affects the quality of what you get. So if you pop in the kind of phrasing and language you would use in a standard Google search, you're not really using the platform in the optimal way.
Tiffany Mockman, communication consultant, writer, and a speaker.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
Mzansi, Powerball has skyrocketed to an epic 177 million rand estimated jackpot this Tuesday, the second highest ever recorded jackpot in Ituba's history. Play now and you could win big, just like Friday's Powerball Plus winner who bagged over 33 million rand via the National Lottery platform. Buy your tickets now in-store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Pounder Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Itube is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Naked people smell expensive because naked people spend less money on insurance premiums and more money on fancy French colognes with names they can't pronounce. With Naked, you can cover your car, home, and stuff in seconds. And because it's all online, it also costs less. Go to naked.insure now, get a car insurance quote in 90 seconds, and start smelling like naked people. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
And the award for the spiciest stunt performed in a bowl goes to Tom Yum Cruise.
Thank you everyone. Wow, what an honor. I'd like to thank the chilies, the lemongrass, and of course, Simply Asia for believing in my flavor.
It's the summer of stars at Simply Asia. Stand a chance to win a Toyota Starlet when you spend 200 Rand or more on our famous flavors. Order now. Simply Asia, connecting the Thaiway.
7:02 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman was proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Yeah, a lot of you are coming up with some really interesting ones. I must admit, I did not know some of these authors or writers of particular songs, but it's really interesting to see how people move music around. This one comes in from Alice, who says, Stevie Wonder wrote Tell Me Something Good for Shaka Khan. Stevie Wonder wrote it. Rufus and Shaka did it. This one, Hi Brachan, Babyface, has done a few for others. Ashford and Simpson, I think. Sharp, amongst others. Thank you, Sim. We've picked this one that he did for Boys to Men.
We belong together. And you know that I'm right. Why do you play with my heart? Why do you play with my mind? You said we'd be forever. Said it never died. How could you love me and leave me and never say goodbye? When I can't sleep at night without holding you tight. Girl, each time I try, I just break down and cry. Pain in my head, oh, I'd rather be dead. Spinning around in the road. Although we love to the end of the road, still I can't let go.
End of the Road. Written by Babyface. Boys to Men performing that there. Lots of other interesting suggestions. Here's one from Shabir. Lionel Richie wrote the song Lady for Kenny Rogers. Let's hear what Kenny Rogers did with it.
Lady, I'm your knight in shining armor, and I love you.
What are we going to play out?
You have made me what I am, and I am yours. My love, there's so many ways I want to say I love you. Let me hold you in my arms evermore. You have gone and made me such a fool. I'm so lost in your love, and oh, we belong together. Won't you believe in my song?
Lionel Richie wrote it. Kenny Rogers did it. I could sort of hear that in Lionel Richie's voice more easily. But anyway, hey, it was a hit. Robert says my favorite songwriter that wrote a fantastic song for someone else is Mike Batt. He wrote Bright Eyes for Art Garfunkel, my favorite song of all time. Chance for one more, Refuwe Letsua, whose idea this whole thing was alongside Peter. You've got something to share with us.
Good afternoon, John, and to the rest of the 702 family. So there's Rihanna's popular song, Diamonds in the Sky. This is a song from 2014, written by Sia. So Sia was also known for a song called Unstoppable. I could just feel Sia's energy in this Diamonds in the Sky song by Rihanna.
And while I was Googling, Sia also wrote Pretty Hurts for Beyonce.
Yes.
And offered it to Rihanna. She didn't take it. So Sia writing for huge, huge names. And yeah, let's hear the one that you picked.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Fine light in the beautiful sea. I chose to be happy. You and I, we're like diamonds in the sky. You're a shooting star, I see, a vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. I knew that we'd become one right away. Oh, right away. At first sight, I felt the energy.
Written by Sia, Rihanna made it what it was. Diamonds, wonderful song. That's it for all of us at 702 Drive with me, John Perlman, and the team. Have a great Tuesday. Good night.
We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. I so alive. We're beautiful like diamonds.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Corporate and Investment Banking, a Pan-African bank that's invested in your story because your story matters. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, the Board of Healthcare Funders tells you why they don't want a truce over the NHI, while the SA Medical Association says they do want to sit down and talk. The IMF more optimistic our economy will start to grow more strongly this year. The car company